Chapter 1123. The Fengshui family and the Tomb King's city had the power of curse in their bloodlines, which was very similar to the Panga clan and the Reincarnation Beast clan in the Reincarnation realm. But after the curse was lifted, their cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. Greetings, Sky Devouring Supreme. We were all wondering why your talent was so monstrous. Who would have thought that you were the Sky Devouring Supreme from 10,000 years ago? To think that you could come back to life, this is unbelievable. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of shock. Both of you don't have to be so courteous. Ling Xiao smiled. He had some questions that he needed answers from Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji. Brother Ling, did you just kill someone from the heavenly human tribe? If that's the case, I'm afraid you'll have a death feud with the heavenly human tribe. Li Chunfeng said with a sigh. That's right. Brother Ling, the heavenly human tribe is a powerful force even in the realm of the gods. They are arrogant and hold grudges. Legend has it that there are even sages in the tribe. It's not wise for you to offend them. Mu Tianji said slowly. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said nonchalantly, the celestial race coveted the Changsan sect and wanted us to submit to them. They even killed our disciples. Even if I didn't kill those two, would the celestial race let us go? If they don't know what's good for them, I don't mind annihilating them. However, it seems like the Fengshui family and Mu Wang city are also from the realm of the gods. It seems like you know quite a lot about the realm of the gods. We have to thank Brother Ling for giving us the 9 writings of destiny. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to remove the curse. After the bloodline curse was broken, we received some inheritance from the bloodline and learned of our origins. Mu Tianji said with a bitter smile. Oh. Since the Fengshui family and Mu Wang city are both from the realm of the gods, who would put such a vicious curse on you? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Our 2 tribes were exiled to the mortal realm. Some big shot in the realm of the gods didn't want our 2 tribes to return to the realm of the gods. That's why they left behind such a curse. For the past 1,000,000 years, the gate of the gods was closed to fend off the demons and also to exile us. Li Chunfeng said slowly with a hint of hatred in his eyes. Does this have anything to do with the battle 1,000,000 years ago? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. That's right. Li Chunfeng nodded. According to the memories in our bloodline and the records in our clan, the battle 1,000,000 years ago was not as simple as it seemed. It was not just a simple battle against the extraterrestrial demons. It also involved the infighting between the major forces in the celestial realm. My Fengshui family and Tomb Monarch City were the sacrifices of that battle. The heavenly human realm Tian and Mu Wang Tian was Mu to Wang City and Mu realm to the heavenly human Mu heaven. Family and clan and Mu city. Were. Them was to the forces Mu forces. The heavenly human clan, death clan, sky burying clan, sorcerer clan, and other experts are not simply here to defend against the devil clan. It is said that they have another mission, which is to find a treasure. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He suddenly thought of the wordless heavenly book. Could it be so coincidental? That's right. The Scarlet Dragon God of War was from the Temple of War. He was there not only to fend off the demons but also to find that treasure. Legend has it that it was a heavenly book. For some reason, it was lost in the heavenly human realm. The demons invaded the heavenly human realm Tian and Mu Wang Tian to find the wordless heavenly book. 1,000,000 years ago, the wordless heavenly book fell into the hands of the Scarlet Dragon God of War. He used the wordless heavenly book to become the strongest of his generation. He led many experts to fight against the 10 great demon kings. In the end, he defeated the demons, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. After the Scarlet Dragon God of War died, the wordless heavenly book disappeared without a trace. Li Chunfeng said slowly. The demons invaded the heavenly human realm Tian because of the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Even Zhu Ganglai hadn't mentioned this before. Master, it's not that I don't want to tell you. It's just that I've been sealed for 1,000,000 years and my memories are blurry. I'm not sure if the demons invaded the heavenly human realm Tian for the wordless heavenly book. Zhu Ganglai could not help but laugh bitterly when he saw Ling Xiao looking at him. Is that so? Ling Xiao nodded calmly. No one knew what he was thinking at this moment. So, Ling Xiao, you're in real danger. You've used the wordless heavenly book many times and obtained the inheritance of the wordless heavenly book. I'm afraid some people have already noticed you. If the gate of the God realm opens and a godly expert descends, you'll be in danger. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao and said. What's the cultivation level of the expert descending from the God realm? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at Li Chunfeng. If the expert descending from the God realm was a divine king or a heavenly god, Ling Xiao would not be a match for him. When the gate of the God realm opens, the power of law will be restored. However, in the early stages of the gate of the God realm, the expert that descends will not be too strong. At most, his cultivation level will be in the true God realm. However, that's a true god from the God realm. His strength is unparalleled. Ordinary people will not be able to fight against him. Mu Tianji's eyes flashed with a trace of worry. Although he knew that Ling Xiao had already become a god, he did not think that Ling Xiao had the strength to fight against a true god from the God realm. A true god expert? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. If he could reach the triple deity realm, coupled with his various means, he might be able to fight against a true god expert. This made him feel slightly relieved. Brother Ling, if the experts from the God realm descend, especially the enemies of my Feng Shui family and Mu Wang city, they will definitely not let us go. Therefore, we hope that you can break through your cultivation level as soon as possible. Not only will you be able to fight against the demon race, but also those from the God realm. Li Chunfeng revealed his true thoughts. Ling Xiao knew that if what Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji said was true, once the gate of the God realm opened and the experts from the God realm descended, they would definitely target him, the Feng Shui family, and Mu Wang city. Ling Xiao, Li Chunfeng, and Mu Tianji could be said to be grasshoppers on the same rope. They had a common goal and shared the same interests. I'm going to make a trip to the Cosmos River and make use of the divine Tao law there to break through to the triple deity realm. Perhaps then, I might be able to fight against demon god King Bo Sun and the experts from the God realm. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he explained his plan once more. Triple deity realm? You've already reached the God realm with your physical body and have broken through the most difficult stage. It's not impossible for you to reach the triple deity realm. However, the Cosmos River is not the best choice. Ling Xiao, if you trust us, follow us to the God Burial Cave. There is a secret realm there that will allow you to ascend to the God realm using the divine Tao law. Chapter 1124. God Burial Cave. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. When he returned from the reincarnation world, the first place he went to was the God Burial Cave. At that time, he felt that there were powerful God Tao laws in the God Burial Cave. Li Chunfeng was the successor of a Feng Shui family. He was extremely useful in finding secret realms and locating geomancy. Ling Xiao felt that his words were more trustworthy. That's right. The God Burial Cave is the place where the gods were buried during the Great Divine Demon War. The laws of the gods are gathered there. If you can refine and devour them, you will definitely be able to use the God Tao. Although there are powerful God Tao laws in the Cosmos River, it has already been taken over by the celestial race. The king of the celestial race is extremely powerful. If there is no need, it is best not to clash with him. Mu Tianji said to Ling Xiao. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji saw Ling Xiao as their hope to fight against the experts of the divine world. Therefore, they were extremely concerned about whether Ling Xiao could break through to the three gods stage. Alright. Then let's go to the God Burial Cave. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he made up his mind. The appearance of the experts of the celestial race gave Ling Xiao a sense of urgency. He didn't know when the gate of the divine world would open and when Demon King Bo Sun would return. To the experts of the divine world and the demon race, they were all Ling Zhao's enemies. Therefore, he wanted to raise his strength as soon as possible. Ling Zhao bade farewell to Jin Sei and the rest. He also ordered the disciples of the longevity sect to retreat into the longevity world to prevent the experts of the celestial race from coming to seek revenge. Ling Zhao then left the longevity sect with Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji and headed towards the God Burial Cave. The God Burial Cave was extremely vast and contained many mysterious spaces. Very few people were able to explore the secrets of the God Burial Cave. I heard that the God Burial Cave has the existence of the God Burial Tribe. Do you know about it? Ling Zhao asked the two of them. God Burial Tribe? The truth was that the God-burying race could also be called the zombie race. The so-called God-burying race was just trying to flatter themselves. The Emperor Tomb Mountain was a power supported by the God-burying race. The God Burial Tribe is extremely powerful and is not much weaker than the celestial race. So you must be careful. This time, we won't have any conflict with the God-burying race, so we don't need to bother with them for the time being. Mu Tianji slowly said. So it's the power behind Emperor Tomb Mountain? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he nodded his head and said. The three of them tore through the void and soon arrived at God Burial Cave. Rumble. In the distant God Burial Cave, resplendent pillars of divine light shot up into the skies. One could see deep abysses in the ground, spewing out resplendent light and emitting a mysterious aura. Standing at the periphery of the God Burial Cave, one could feel a majestic divine Tao law within the God Burial Cave. It was extremely powerful. Ling Zhao, the God-burying race is located in the center of the God-burying cave. They are different from the death race. They are zombies that descended from the divine world. They chose the God-burying cave as their resting place to absorb the heaven burial chi. But from my observations, I can see that the divine Tao laws of God Burial Cave have gathered together, forming a mystic realm that is similar to a small divine world. If we can go there, then with the laws of this small divine world, the three of us will be able to confirm our Tao and become gods. Li Chuanfeng's eyes were filled with anticipation. You speak of a small divine world. The God-burying race has been here for 1,000,000 years, but they still haven't discovered it. Ling Zhao asked, puzzled. As the saying goes, it's dark under the light. The God-burying race thinks that they have occupied the core of the God Burial Cave and can absorb the heaven burial chi and the chaotic laws. However, they don't know that the purest divine Tao laws have already formed a mystic realm that they can't discover. Li Chunfeng smiled confidently. In terms of the Tao of Feng Shui, the Feng Shui family was one of the best even in the divine world when it came to Longguan Mountain. Moreover, in Li Chuanfeng's opinion, the God-burying race was a bunch of idiots. They only had muscles and divine strength. All right. Let's go to the small divine world that you spoke of. Ling Zhao's eyes were also filled with anticipation. Swoosh. Swoosh. The three of them flew towards the God Burial Cave. The three of them used powerful techniques to conceal their auras and entered the God Burial Cave silently. Streams of divine strength gushed out and the light was dazzling. It seemed to distort the void and formed a mysterious aurora. In the God Burial Cave, it was as though they didn't know where they were. They were surrounded by dazzling divine light. Although it was beautiful, it contained unimaginable traps and dangers. The three of them passed through one divine cave after another. In the end, they stopped in front of an extremely inconspicuous divine cave. This god cave was only a few hundred feet wide. It was almost negligible compared to other god caves that were tens of thousands of feet wide. However, when they arrived in front of this small god cave, Li Chuanfeng's eyes were filled with excitement. This is the entrance. Let's go down. Li Chuanfeng's eyes flashed. He immediately formed a seal with both hands. Mysterious runes spread out. Dazzling divine light gushed out from the divine cavern and enveloped the three of them in an instant. Then, they slowly descended. Rumble. The surroundings were filled with resplendent light, as though they were in a distorted void tunnel. As Li Chunfeng muttered incantations, his hands continuously formed seals, and Ling Xiao felt as though the earth around them was trembling. Their speed became extremely fast, and they rapidly sank downwards. Boom! There was an explosion of dazzling light and the three of them arrived in a mysterious space. This is the small god world that you mentioned? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked around and said slowly. The space looked boundless as though it was a vast starry sky with no end in sight. In front of the three of them were dazzling balls of light that looked like stars. Darkness enveloped everything. If it wasn't for the dazzling balls of light, Ling Xiao would have thought that they had arrived in the starry sky. The dazzling balls of light varied in size. The big ones were as hot as the sun while the small ones were like fireflies. However, the balls of light exuded an extremely pure divine path aura. That's right. Ling Xiao, this is the small god world. It only has the most basic divine path order. This is also the most suitable place for you to achieve the divine spirit realm. Li Chunfeng looked at the balls of light around him and his eyes were filled with excitement. Buzz! As though to prove his words, his body flashed and divine power gushed out. It turned into a dazzling devouring vortex and instantly devoured a ball of light the size of a fist. Rumble! Li Chunfeng's body glowed and his divine power rose. It contained an extremely vast and mysterious power. His aura began to grow. P.S. There will be no more updates today. Everyone, rest early. See you tomorrow. Chapter 1125. Ling Xiao's eyes glittered. Never could he have guessed that those spheres of light would actually contain pure magical laws of the Tao of Gods. Ling Xiao's god power had already reached the pinnacle. He cultivated the heaven-devouring secret magic, and had already reached the level of the King Heaven-Devourer Cauldron. As long as the cauldron became a heaven-devouring god sea, he would be able to corroborate his Tao and reach godly ascension. Previously, he had only been absorbing the spirit energy of heaven and earth, or even pure yang spirit energy, but that hadn't been enough. He needed to use the magical laws of the Tao of Gods to refine his god power. Ling Xiao now understood why Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji's cultivation bases had advanced so quickly. It was because of this minor god world. Without any further hesitation, Ling Xiao sat down cross-legged and began working on the heaven-devouring secret magic. Back on Kunwa God Mountain, the Emperor had told Ling Xiao to create a clone before he corroborated his Tao and reached godly ascension. That way, he could sever his connection to the wordless heavenly tome. Although the wordless heavenly tome contained miraculous power, it was also an inauspicious item. Therefore, the Emperor had told Ling Xiao not to rely on it too much. Ling Xiao had originally planned to use the essence devil bone to create a clone, but unfortunately, it was too powerful. Even with the wordless heavenly tome, it wasn't something he could assimilate. Thankfully, the wordless heavenly tome was in Jin Sei's body, intertwined with the seven souls scatter soul, and temporarily severed its connection to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was planning to use this opportunity to reach the level of 3 gods. As for what the Emperor had said about the wordless heavenly tome being an inauspicious item, Ling Xiao didn't take it to heart. As far as he was concerned, it was nothing more than a treasure. Although it had helped him a lot, he didn't rely on it too much. As far as Ling Xiao was concerned, personal strength was the most important thing. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled, and the void rippled as Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in a world of darkness, surrounded by dazzling spheres of light that resembled stars. Drawing on his heaven-devouring secret magic, he summoned the King Heaven-Devourer Cauldron above his head, pulsing with ancient and mysterious fluctuations as it transformed into a vortex that began to devour the God Tao magical laws. Ling Xiao discovered that even though there were divine Tao laws in the balls of light, there was also a trace of heaven burial qi mixed within. Thus, even Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji would extract the heaven burial qi from the balls of light before devouring the divine Tao laws within. However, Ling Xiao did not have such concerns. Before his heaven-devouring secret technique, both the laws of God and heaven's burial chi were refined and turned into the purest origin divine force that fused into his body. Zhou Tian's body glowed. His body was dazzling. The divine power in his body surged and intertwined like a great river, flowing continuously. Every time it flowed, it would refine a large amount of divine Tao laws, causing the power in his body to become even more majestic. Rumble. The King Heaven Devourer cauldron trembled violently, as though it were undergoing some sort of transformation. The god power within it seethed as though it might explode at any moment. The King Heaven Devourer cauldron grew more and more corporeal, with primal chaos mists swirling within it and dazzling lightning crackling. It was almost as though heaven and earth were being created. As of this moment, the King Heaven Devourer cauldron was giving birth to a mysterious world. Boundless god power poured into the King Heaven Devourer cauldron, causing soaring heaven's aura to grow stronger and stronger. The light around Ling Xiao became more and more resplendent. His body seemed to become more and more powerful under the stimulation of the laws of God. The figures of the 4 divine beasts appeared behind him. A 30,000-meter-long golden dragon roared, pulsing with unparalleled godly might. A 5-colored phoenix pulsed with intense flames that seemed capable of igniting all heaven and earth. An enormous white tiger rose up in a sea of god power, roaring with heaven-destroying, earth-extinguishing might. The Xuanwu turtle was like a vast continent floating in primal chaos, its 4 limbs spreading out to give birth to powerful living beings. As his mastery of the heaven-devouring secret technique improved by leaps and bounds, Ling Xiao actually gained a kind of enlightenment. The essence of the 4 secret techniques became clearer and clearer. His understanding of the 4 elephants' heaven-striking style also began to reach perfection. As Ling Xiao cultivated in this minor god world, his aura grew stronger and stronger, and the King Heaven Devourer cauldron began transforming into a heaven-devouring god sea. Time passed by slowly. The war god continent was in a state of upheaval. Back when Ling Xiao destroyed the war god temple and revealed his identity as Paragon Heaven Devourer, it had shaken the entire war god continent. Many of the Holy Lands had been forced to seal their mountains for fear that Ling Xiao would come knocking on their door. At the same time, Ling Xiao had revealed that the outsider heaven devils would soon be out in the open, and would be led by a devil god king to invade the war god continent. Many of the Holy Lands of the Tao of martial arts viewed Ling Xiao and the House of Longevity as their savior, and hoped that Ling Xiao would be able to slaughter the outsider heaven devils and save the millions upon millions of living beings on the war god world. Originally, many of the Holy Lands thought that the House of Longevity would come out in force and unite the Holy Lands to fight against the outsider heaven devils. What they didn't expect was that Ling Xiao and Changsun men seemed to have disappeared during this period of time. Many people began to panic, wondering if Ling Xiao had given up on the war god continent. At the same time, powerful beings emerged from the 8 great forbidden lands one after another. The Emperor Tomb Mountain, Nantian Clan, and Astral Palace announced that they had pledged allegiance to the god-burying race of the God Burial Cave. The heavenly human tribe of the Cosmos River appeared. The Kunlun Mountain and Black Heaven sect pledged allegiance to the heavenly human tribe. The 7 Emotions and 6 Desires demon sect and many other demonic sects pledged allegiance to the Sorcerer tribe. The emergence of the beings from the Forbidden Lands shocked the entire war god continent. The beings from the Forbidden Lands were all terrifyingly strong, and almost all of them were god spirit experts. They were invincible and could dominate the world. Apart from a few of the Holy Lands, most of the experts from the Holy Lands had pledged allegiance to the terrifying beings from the Forbidden Lands. With so many god spirits emerging, some people even thought that Ling Xiao was afraid of the beings from the Forbidden Lands. That was why he had brought the House of Longevity to hide. Following that, something happened that verified everyone's guess. The Heavenly King of the Celestial Race issued a decree, saying that Ling Xiao had killed 2 of the Celestial Race's experts and deserved to die. He offered a god-tier martial art and divine weapon as a reward for news of Ling Xiao and the House of Longevity. Ling Xiao and the House of Longevity are finished. That's right. I thought that Ling Xiao had destroyed the War God Temple, killed the Supreme True Dragon, and became the most powerful person on the War God continent. However, I didn't expect there to be so many God spirit experts in the Forbidden Lands. I think Ling Xiao deserves it. Who asked him to offend the heavenly king of the celestial race? However, with so many God spirit experts in the Forbidden Lands, they will definitely be able to kill all the outsider heaven devils and save our war god temple. Everyone discussed fervently. Some of them were even hostile towards Ling Xiao and the House of Longevity and slandered them with ulterior motives. Chapter 11:26. With the orders of the Celestial King, many experts from the Holy Lands were eager to make a move, and began searching for Luo Changmen and Ling Xiao. However, after 1 year, 2 years, the Longevity Gate and Ling Xiao seemed to have disappeared into thin air. No one could find them. The 8 Wilds region had been taken over by the heavenly humans. The war god continent was in a state of turmoil, as though a tempest were brewing. By this point, Ling Xiao had been in seclusion in the minor god world for 3 years. During those 3 years, he had devoured more than half of the god Dao magical laws in the minor god world, and the glowing light in the area had grown sparse, as though it might be extinguished at any moment. And the sea of god power in the Heaven Devourer cauldron was almost full. Ruyuumble. Ling Xiao pulsed with a terrifying aura, causing primal chaos to swirl around him. Heaven and earth trembled violently as dazzling godlight filled the area. The Heaven Devourer cauldron was covered with ancient magical symbols that seemed to contain the supreme truths of heaven and earth. Ling Xiao seemed to be surrounded by a mysterious aura. The aura on Ling Xiao's body grew stronger and stronger. It was terrifying beyond compare. It contained an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation. When the aura on his body rose to its peak, rumble, the Heaven Devourer cauldron exploded. It was as though heaven and earth had been cleaved apart as a terrifying aura filled the area. Boundless primal chaos mist filled the area, and the world of darkness around Ling Xiao was suddenly filled with dazzling light. Strands of mist rose into the air. Divine energy was vast like an ocean, and it emitted a crystalline and gorgeous radiance. It transformed into a vast devouring vortex. The void was trembling violently as if it was about to collapse. Rumble. A vast ocean of divine power formed behind Ling Xiao. It was vast and boundless, thousands of miles long. It transformed into a vast devouring vortex. Bolts of blazing lightning descended from the vast sky. They were dazzling and as thick as a mountain range. They contained an incomparably terrifying power. As of this moment, the Heaven Devourer's secret art broke through. The Heaven Devourer cauldron was now a Heaven Devourer God Sea. Whether it was in his previous life or this life, the Heaven Devouring secret technique was Ling Xiao's most fundamental secret technique. Therefore, Ling Xiao's understanding of the Heaven Devouring secret technique was also the deepest. Therefore, when Ling Xiao condensed the heaven-engulfing divine ocean, he naturally used the divine power nomological laws to prove his Tao and become a god. The vast divine tribulation descended. Heaven and earth trembled violently, as if the void was about to shatter. Ling Xiao had achieved the dual god realm, which was even more heaven-defying and terrifying than the mortal god realm. Therefore, the god tribulation this time was also incomparably terrifying. Especially since Ling Xiao had achieved the double god realm in the mortal world, it made the heavenly Tao even more furious. Right now, Ling Xiao was an existence that could endanger the life of the war god realm. Hence, the sky laws of the entire war god realm enveloped Ling Xiao, wanting to destroy him completely. Ling Xiao's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at the vast sky. The resplendent sea of lightning rose up and intertwined with each other. It was as though a few mysterious figures had appeared within the sea of lightning. Rumble. The void rumbled, and in an instant, tens of thousands of lightning bolts descended on Ling Xiao. Every single lightning bolt contained the power of a divine spirit realm expert. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts descended, as though they wanted to destroy everything. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes gleamed with sharpness. He did not dodge, because he knew that even if he did, it would be useless. This god tribulation could only be endured by him alone. Only by going through the tempering of the God tribulation would he be able to complete the divine power nomological laws and achieve the dual God realm. Rumble. His fist soared into the sky, and the golden fist imprint contained an incomparably terrifying power. The terrifying lightning bolts were shattered by him, turning into the purest lightning energy. Then, they were devoured by the heaven-engulfing divine ocean behind him. Ling Xiao spread out his arms, and the heaven-engulfing divine ocean behind him surged towards the tier sea in the 9 heavens, as though it wanted to refine the entire sea of lightning. At this moment, Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji had also awoken from their cultivation state. Both of their cultivations were on the verge of a breakthrough. If they were not disturbed by Ling Xiao's God tribulation, they would have been able to attain the Tao and become gods. However, at this moment, they had awoken from their cultivation state. Looking at the scene before them, their eyes were filled with disbelief. It was too terrifying. Just the pressure of the terrifying lightning was enough to make their hearts tremble. They felt that if the two of them were to face such a God tribulation, they would have been turned into ashes in an instant. There was no doubt about it. Is this the God tribulation of the dual God realm? It's too terrifying. Li Chuanfeng's voice was trembling slightly, and his eyes were filled with shock. In the divine world, those who can attain the divine body realm are already 1 in 10,000 geniuses. Those who can attain the dual God realm are even rarer. As for those who have attained the triple God realm, even in the entire divine world, they are considered peerless geniuses. Perhaps, we are witnessing the birth of a great existence. Mu Tianji's eyes were filled with excitement as he spoke slowly. Attaining the triple God realm in the mortal world was more than 1,000 times harder than attaining it in the divine world. Hence, this strengthened their belief that Ling Xiao would definitely grow into a great existence in the future. However, could Ling Xiao really survive such a terrifying God tribulation? Boom! The sea of lightning in the sky seemed to be raging at this moment. Ling Xiao actually wanted to use the heaven-devouring sea to completely devour the God tribulation sea. This was an unquestionable provocation to the heavenly Tao. It was just like how ordinary people wanted to rebel and despise the imperial power. Even the kings of the mortal world could not tolerate the rebellion of their own people. How could the heavenly Tao tolerate Ling Xiao's provocation? Hence, the sea of lightning burned even more fiercely. A mysterious aura filled the air, and a few terrifying figures walked out from the sea of lightning. These few figures were shrouded in the dazzling lightning, and their faces could not be seen clearly. However, each of them exuded an invincible aura that could sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The 9 Supreme Emperors. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, revealing an incomparably solemn expression. These 9 Supreme Emperors had appeared in the terrifying God tribulation when Ling Xiao had condensed the Celestial Emperor's Dharma form with 108 divine powers. That battle had caused the sky to darken, and the sun and moon to dim. Ling Xiao was almost completely annihilated by the 9 Supreme Emperors. In the end, Ling Xiao had survived the God tribulation with great difficulty. How could Ling Xiao not recognize these 9 figures? They were the 9 mysterious Supreme Emperors that he had met before. However, the 9 Supreme Emperors in front of him were obviously much more solid than before. Their strength was more than 10 times or even 100 times stronger. Just one figure alone was enough to make Ling Xiao feel a terrifying pressure, let alone the 9 Supreme Emperors. Chapter 1127. Ling Xiao's physical body had achieved immortalhood, and his recovery abilities were extremely strong. As long as his injuries were not fatal, he could recover in an instant. As for the devouring divine ocean that he had condensed, it was constantly merging with the sea of energy in the universe, constantly devouring the boundless spiritual energy in the void to nourish his body. It could be said that he had relied on his physical body to achieve immortalhood, the insane recovery abilities of the divine dragon body, and the power of the devouring divine ocean to sustain himself for so long. Boom boom boom. Bolts of lightning were blinding, and the thunder tribulations were terrifying beyond compare. The battle between Ling Xiao and the 9 emperors seemed to have pierced through the world and destroyed chaos. It was extremely terrifying. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji, who were hiding in the distance, were completely dumbfounded. Who are those 9 figures? Could they be the ancient heavenly emperors? This is too terrifying. To be able to fight against the imprints of the 9 heavenly emperors to such an extent, Ling Xiao's potential is practically limitless. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji were trembling from head to toe, their eyes filled with shock and agitation. The reason why they had guessed that the 9 figures were the ancient heavenly emperors was because the emperor's aura that emanated from the 9 figures was too terrifying. Even a divine spirit cultivator would have to submit in the face of that aura. It was an invincible aura that could sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and suppress all 8 directions. Only the strongest cultivator of an era, the eternal and immortal heavenly emperors, could have such an aura and energy wave. If Ling Xiao can achieve the 3 gods stage, so what if the strongest cultivators from the realm of the gods descend? Looks like it won't be long before we return to the realm of the gods. Li Chunfeng took in a deep breath, his eyes filled with hope. The Fengshui family and Mu Wang city had been exiled for 1,000,000 years. They had broken the curse on their bloodline and discovered their origins. Naturally, they wanted to return to the realm of the gods. Only by returning to the realm of the gods would they be able to climb to the peak of the martial way, and only then would they have the hope of revenge. Suppressing their 2 families 1,000,000 years ago and planting a curse on their bloodline, that person wanted to wipe them all out. In the past 1,000,000 years, countless ancestors of the Fengshui family and Mu Wang city had tried to break the curse on their bloodline and discover their origins. Countless ancestors had died tragically, and this blood feud had been pinned on that mysterious existence. Sooner or later, they were going to take it back from them personally. Boom boom boom. The small god realm started to shake violently. At the start, it was supported by the boundless God Tao laws, causing the small God realm to be incomparably sturdy. But by the time Ling Xiao had refined all the God Tao laws and triggered the God Tribulation, the small God realm was starting to crumble. By now, the battle between Ling Xiao and the 9 Thearchs was too terrifying. Instantly, the small God realm started to break apart. Crack! The void shattered as boundless void turbulence surged. Ling Xiao, Li Chunfeng, and Mu Tianji were all repelled by the God Burial Cave and were instantly teleported out of it. The lightning in the 9 heavens was getting more and more intense. Boom boom. Lightning poured down from the 9 heavens like water, like a waterfall. Each bolt of lightning was as thick as a mountain range, becoming incomparably terrifying. Ling Xiao and the 9 Thearchs were shrouded in boundless lightning bolts as they fought. The terrifying shockwaves from their battle shook the entire God Burial Cave. Not good. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji shuddered as a grim look appeared in their eyes. God Burial Cave was the territory of the buried god tribe. Previously, they had been cultivating in the small god realm, and the buried god tribe had not discovered them yet. But now that the small god realm had shattered and Ling Xiao's tribulation was so terrifying, the buried god tribe would definitely discover them soon. Whoosh! Just as Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji had expected, just as this thought flashed through their minds, godly rays of light shot out from afar. Following that, a series of powerful figures appeared in the sky. Black godly rays of light shone as the heaven burial chi surged. The entire god cave looked as though it was about to split open. The figures shrouded in black robes moved at an incredible speed and appeared before Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji almost instantaneously. The one in the lead was a black-robed young man with a jade-like complexion. He was extremely handsome and had a slender body. However, his face was pale and devoid of blood. His eyes were filled with a demonic glow. He stood in the sky with an incomparably terrifying aura. A powerful godly aura emanated from him, causing Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji to shudder. This black-robed young man was an immortal as well. Behind the black-robed young man, there were 2 old men with hunched backs. Their faces were like tree bark and their sunken eye sockets seemed as though there was a ghostly fire burning within them. Those 2 old men were immortals as well. Other than that, Mu Tianji's eyes flashed as he caught sight of a familiar face from the Emperor Tomb Mountain. Even though the master of the Emperor Tomb Mountain and the patriarch of the Emperor Tomb Mountain were both dead, the status of this middle-aged man before him was no less than the patriarch of the Emperor Tomb Mountain. The middle-aged man's aura was extremely strong. He was already at the titled Supreme Realm. He looked like an immortal with an ethereal aura. His gaze was deep and calm, completely different from that sinister fella from the Emperor Tomb Mountain. However, Mu Tianji knew that this middle-aged man was the lover of the Emperor Tomb Mountain's patriarch, old Taoist Mingyu. When old Taoist Mingyu saw Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji, his eyes were filled with shock. He said calmly, "So it's Master Mu and Master Li. How dare you come to the God Burial Cave? If I'm not wrong, the person going through the lightning tribulation in the void should be Ling Xiao, right?" Old Taoist Mingyu looked at Ling Xiao's figure in the void with a hint of fear in his eyes. Previously, there were rumors that Ling Xiao had already proven his Tao and become a god. However, those were probably just rumors. Now was probably the time for Ling Xiao to prove his Tao and become a god. That's right. It's Lord Ling Xiao. If you guys don't want to die, leave this place immediately. Otherwise, once Lord Ling Xiao passes his god's tribulation, it'll be hard to say if he'll fly into a rage upon seeing you guys. Mu Tianji looked calmly at old Taoist Mingyu and said. Rumble. Up in the void, Ling Xiao and the 9 emperors were completely enveloped by the lightning tribulation. Even old Taoist Mingyu and the rest did not notice the 9 emperors. They could only instinctively sense that the aura within the lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying, causing them to tremble in fear. Especially the demonic young man. His eyes shone with a sharp gleam as he revealed a look of surprise. Ling Xiao. The gates of the realm of gods have yet to open and he's already proven his Tao and become a god. He's really talented. If he's willing to pledge his allegiance to me later, I might spare his life. The demonic young man mumbled to himself. Old Taoist Mingyu smiled and said, "It's Ling Xiao's fortune to be able to become young Master Zhang Xian's servant. However, young master, you must be careful. I heard that Ling Xiao is extremely powerful and should not be underestimated. In this God Burial Cave, if he doesn't wish to be killed by the patriarch, he can only pledge his allegiance to me. Otherwise, even if I let him go, the patriarch will not spare his life." Chapter 11:28. Rumble. Amidst the flashes of lightning, the heavens and earth trembled. Chaotic fog swirled around as the 9 emperors stood at the peak of the firmament, exuding an undefeatable aura. Although their faces could not be seen clearly, their eyes seemed to be able to pierce through the river of time, breaking through the fog of time. They descended from the endless void, causing Ling Xiao to tremble all over. Ling Xiao didn't know why such a terrifying figure would appear when he was merely undergoing the god's tribulation. He guessed that the 9 emperors were peerless figures who had dominated the universe during the ancient times. Even the heavens and earth could not erase their will, leaving their mark in the thunder tribulation. The heavenly Tao lightning tribulation had created their imprints in order to completely exterminate Ling Xiao. At the same time, Ling Xiao was a little confused. When his physical body became a god, although there was a god's tribulation, it didn't seem to be this terrifying. Could it be that when he reached the 3 gods' realm, the divine tribulation would be even more terrifying? Ling Xiao guessed in his heart, but he could not find the reason. At this moment, the 9 Supremes Emperors were already charging towards the clouds. Boom! A great emperor raised his fist and punched out. The terrifying fist covered the sky, containing an invincible power, as if it wanted to crush everything into dust. Then let's fight. Ling Xiao's eyes were blazing with battle intent. The appearance of the 9 Supremes Great Emperors had stimulated the strong battle intent in his heart, causing his aura to rise. Suddenly, he punched towards the void. Roar! The dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens as heaven and earth trembled violently. Ling Xiao's body was wrapped in blazing golden light and he was like a peerless divine dragon that could traverse the 9 heavens. His fist imprint was unparalleled and it suddenly collided with the fist imprint of the Great Emperor. Bang! The heavens and earth trembled violently, and the void shook. Ling Xiao felt that the vast fist will seem to be able to turn the entire universe into nothingness. Ling Xiao's figure flew back, but the great emperor's figure didn't even sway. Ling Xiao could feel that the great emperor's strength wasn't very strong. In fact, it was even weaker than him. However, that invincible fist intent seemed to encompass the entire universe and contain the power of life and death. With a single punch, anything would be reduced to dust. Whoosh! Before Ling Xiao could even stabilize himself, a dazzling sword ray shot through the sky. It was vast and mighty like the Milky Way spreading out, containing an eternal and indestructible sword intent. It was an emperor whose eyes were like swords. Sword intent soared around him, and he seemed to have turned into a divine sword light that could split the world apart. He contained extremely vast and terrifying power. Clang! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply as he raised his arms. The vast heaven-swallowing divine sea behind him surged and turned into a giant heaven-swallowing divine sword, slashing down at the great monarch. Crack! The heaven-devouring divine sword, which was formed by the heaven-devouring divine sea, was incomparably vast. However, when it collided with the sword light, it did not have the slightest bit of resistance and was instantly slashed apart. A storm of sword energy mixed with divine light swept out in all directions. In the end, the sword light slashed onto Ling Xiao's chest. Wang! Ling Xiao's body exuded a dazzling light, and his body was crystal clear and resplendent. In the end, although he managed to block the power of the sword light, he felt as though he had been struck by lightning. He suddenly flew back and spat out a mouthful of blood. In just 2 moves, Ling Xiao was already injured. However, an even greater danger had arrived. The 9 great monarchs seemed to be the embodiment of heaven's will. They were bent on killing Ling Xiao. The 9 great monarchs did not know how to fight one-on-one, and they actually charged towards Ling Xiao at the same time. The dazzling sword light, the Big Dipper divine staff that could destroy everything, the Fengtian halberd that could destroy heaven and earth, and the boundless sea of fire that could burn heaven and earth, every great emperor seemed to possess an incomparably terrifying power. That kind of realm was far beyond the current Ling Xiao. Although the strength of the 9 great emperors might not be as strong as Ling Xiao, their martial arts seemed to contain endless spirituality. Every move was natural, making it impossible for others to block or even dodge. Rumble! Ling Xiao was completely in danger. Golden light blazed around him, and golden divine dragons circled around him. The 1,000 dragons' god-slaying skill was boundless, and the 4 elephants' sky-striking style could break through the chaos. In addition, his devouring deity Sea could devour all energy fluctuations. It was extremely terrifying. However, he was still suppressed by the 9 great monarchs. Poof! Ling Xiao was sent flying by a punch, and a fist mark appeared on his chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Swoosh! A sword ray slashed down from the sky. Even though Ling Xiao's body was extremely strong and tough, it still left a long bloody mark on his body, almost splitting him in half. Ling Xiao was still persevering and resisting. His gaze grew brighter, and his heart was incomparably calm. He seemed to have fallen into an extremely mysterious state. Under the joint attack of the 9 great monarchs, Ling Xiao's potential seemed to have been completely stimulated. He began to comprehend the martial arts of the 9 great monarchs, especially the boundless and invincible will. The invincible fist will, the sword will that could destroy 10,000 worlds, the fire will that could burn all living things. Ling Xiao began to comprehend the martial arts of the 9 great monarchs, and then integrated them into his own martial arts system. In Ling Xiao's previous life, his highest cultivation base was only the supreme titled realm. In this life, he had surpassed the peak of his previous life, and even reached the realm of 2 gods. Even in the realm of gods, he was considered a peerless genius. However, Ling Xiao was still not satisfied. His previous life's accumulation had been exhausted. If he wanted to continue to advance by leaps and bounds, he had to accumulate even more. Especially his understanding of the power of divine Tao, which was his weakness now. He had never been to the realm of gods, and only had a smattering of understanding of the divine Tao. Although Ling Xiao had killed many demon gods, most of them had been suppressed for 1,000,000 years, and their cultivation base had been reduced to nothing. They did not have full combat strength, and Ling Xiao could only rely on his killer moves to kill them. However, the battle with the 9 great monarchs made Ling Xiao feel that this was a great opportunity, and an unimaginable one at that. The 9 great monarchs' supreme will, their battle style, and their understanding of divine Tao had given Ling Xiao a deep understanding and enlightenment. It could be said that the longer Ling Xiao lasted in the hands of the 9 great monarchs, the more benefits he would gain. However, if it had been an ordinary person, they would have died in the hands of the 9 great monarchs before they could even gain any benefits. After all, to be able to survive the joint attack of the 9 great monarchs was not something an ordinary person could do. Ling Xiao was also severely injured. He was covered in blood, and his breathing had become extremely weak. His face was pale, and the corners of his mouth were stained with blood. Under the attack of the 9 great monarchs, he had suffered the most powerless battle of his life. Chapter 1129. Ling Xiao's physical body had become a god, and his body's regenerative ability was extremely strong. As long as it wasn't a fatal injury, he would be able to recover in an instant. The heaven-devouring divine sea that he had condensed was constantly fusing with the vital qi sea of the myriad worlds, constantly devouring the endless spiritual qi in the void to nourish himself. It could be said that he had relied on his physical body to become a god, the regenerative ability of the divine dragon body, and the power of the devouring god sea to hold on for so long. Rumble. Bolts of lightning flashed, and the lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying. The battle between Ling Xiao and the 9 god emperors seemed to have broken through the world and destroyed the chaos. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji, who were hiding in the distance, were completely dumbfounded. Who exactly are those 9 figures? Could they be the ancient heavenly emperors? Too terrifying. To be able to fight against the seals of the 9 heavenly emperors to such an extent, Ling Xiao's potential is limitless. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji trembled slightly, and their eyes were filled with shock and excitement. The reason why they guessed that the 9 figures were the ancient heavenly emperors was because the emperor's aura that they exuded was too terrifying. Even a godly expert would have to bow down in front of such an aura. It was an aura that could sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 lands, and suppress the 6 directions of the universe. Only the strongest expert of an era, the eternal heavenly emperors who could suppress gods, could have such an aura and presence. If Ling Xiao can reach the 3 gods' realm, so what if the experts of the divine world come? It seems like it won't be long before we return to the divine world. Li Chunfeng took in a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with hope. The Feng Shui family and Tomb King City were exiled 1,000,000 years ago. After breaking the curse on their bloodline and understanding their origins, they naturally wanted to return to the divine world. Only by returning to the divine world would they be able to climb to the peak of the martial Tao, and there would be hope for revenge. Suppressing them 1,000,000 years ago and planting a curse on their bloodline, they were trying to exterminate them. 1,000,000 years ago, countless ancestors of the Feng Shui family and Tomb King City had tried to break the curse on their bloodline and find out their origins. Countless ancestors had died tragically, and this blood feud was pinned on that mysterious existence. Sooner or later, they would find them personally to take it back. Rumble. The minor god world began to tremble violently. In the beginning, it was supported by boundless laws of the divine Tao, making it incomparably sturdy. However, when Ling Xiao refined all of the divine Tao laws and triggered the divine tribulation, this small divine world was unable to bear the burden. At this point, the battle between Ling Xiao and the 9 emperors was so terrifying that the minor god world began to shatter. Crack. The void shattered as boundless chaotic space currents gushed forth. Ling Xiao, Li Chunfeng, and Mu Tianji were all rejected by the God Burial Cave as they were instantly teleported out of the God Burial Cave. The lightning above the 9th heaven became more and more dazzling. Rumble. The lightning poured down from the 9 heavens like a waterfall. The bolts of lightning were as thick as mountains. It was extremely terrifying. The figures of Ling Xiao and the 9 thearchs were enveloped in boundless lightning as they battled. That terrifying shockwave also shook the entire God Burial Cave. Not good. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji's bodies trembled as a trace of seriousness appeared in their eyes. The God Burial Cave was the territory of the God Burial tribe. Previously, when they were cultivating in the minor god world, the God Burial tribe was unable to discover them. However, now that the minor god world was shattered and Ling Xiao's divine tribulation was so terrifying, the God Burial tribe would soon discover them. So, indeed, just as Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji had expected, just as this thought flashed through their minds, divine light shot out from the distance as powerful figures appeared in the sky. Black divine light surged as the heaven burial chi surged. The entire God Burial Cave seemed to have split open as numerous figures clad in black robes appeared in front of Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji with extreme speed. The person in the lead was a handsome young man clad in black robes. He was extremely handsome and had a slender figure. However, his face was pale without a trace of blood and his eyes were filled with a demonic light. He stood in the void as his aura was incomparably terrifying. A powerful divine aura spread out, causing Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji to tremble. This black-robed young man was actually a god spirit. Behind the black-robed young man were 2 stooped old men. Their faces were like tree bark and within their sunken eye sockets, there seemed to be ghost fire surging. The 2 old men were also god spirits. Other than that, Mu Tianji's eyes flashed sharply as he saw an old acquaintance of the Emperor Tomb Mountain. Although the Emperor Tomb Mountain Lord and Emperor Tomb Old Ancestor were both dead, the middle-aged man in front of him was in no way inferior to the Emperor Tomb Old Ancestor. The middle-aged man's aura was very strong and he was already a titled supremacy. He looked like an immortal with an ethereal temperament. His gaze was deep and indifferent, completely different from the sinister fellow in the Emperor Tomb Mountain. However, Mu Tianji knew that this middle-aged man was the lover of the Emperor Tomb Old Ancestor, Old Taoist Mingyu. Old Taoist Mingyu also saw Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. He said indifferently, "So it's Master Mu and Master Li. You actually dare to come to the God Burial Cave?" If this poor Taoist's guess isn't wrong, the person undergoing the lightning tribulation in the sky should be Ling Xiao, right? Old Taoist Mingyu looked at Ling Xiao's figure in the sky and a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Previously, there were people who said that Ling Xiao had already verified his Tao and become a god. Those were probably just rumors. Now was probably the time for Ling Xiao to verify his Tao and become a god. That's right. It's Lord Ling Xiao. If you don't want to die, you'd better leave this place quickly. Otherwise, when Lord Ling Xiao completes his god tribulation and sees you guys, it's hard to say if he'll fly into a rage. Mu Tianji looked indifferently at old Taoist Mingyu and said, "Rumble." In the sky, the figures of Ling Xiao and the 9 emperors were completely enveloped by the sea of lightning. Even old Taoist Mingyu and the others couldn't discover the figures of the 9 emperors. They could only instinctively feel that the aura of the sea of lightning was extremely terrifying, causing them to tremble in fear. This was especially so for that devilish-looking youth. His eyes shone with a sharp light as he revealed a trace of surprise. "Ling Xiao, is it? The door to the god world hasn't opened yet and he's already able to verify his Tao and become a god. His talent is indeed not bad. If he's willing to submit to this young master, perhaps I can spare his life." The devilish-looking youth muttered to himself. Old Taoist Mingyu smiled lightly and said, "It's Ling Xiao's fortune to be able to become young Master Zhang Xian's servant. However, young master must be careful. It's said that Ling Xiao's combat strength is extremely strong and cannot be underestimated. In this God Burial Cave, if he doesn't want to be killed by the old ancestor, he can only submit to this young master obediently. Otherwise, even if this young master releases him, the old ancestor won't let him live." Chapter 1130. The old ancestor has come out of seclusion. If that's the case, Ling Xiao will die without a doubt if he dares to disobey. Ming Yu's eyes revealed a trace of surprise as he spoke respectfully. The old ancestor of the god-burying clan was extremely powerful and terrifying. He had killed countless extraterrestrial demons 1,000,000 years ago and had been in seclusion to recuperate for the past 1,000,000 years. If the old ancestor came out of seclusion, it meant that his injuries had healed. If Ling Xiao dared to disobey then, he could just kill him. After Ling Xiao killed the Lord of Emperor Tomb Mountain and the old ancestor of Emperor Tomb, Mingyu might look calm on the surface, but in his heart, he couldn't wait to kill Ling Xiao. The old ancestor of the god-burying clan was a peerless expert of the same era as the heavenly king of the heavenly human clan. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji's expression changed. They also knew that the old ancestor of the god-burying clan, Zhang Su, was said to be able to bury the heavens and earth. Ling Xiao had passed the Supreme Being tribulation, but he was only in the divine spirit realm. Against a peerless expert like Zhang Su, his chances of winning were slim. The two of you are from the Feng Shui family and Tomb Monarch City. I didn't expect that not only did your clan survive, you even managed to break the curse of your bloodline. Sinners are sinners. Now, I'll give you a chance. Submit to this young master and atone for your sins. This young master will spare your lives. Zhang Xian looked at Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji with a trace of surprise in his eyes. He spoke in a condescending tone, like a divine dragon looking down on ants. In Zhang Xian's opinion, the Feng Shui family and Tomb Monarch City deserved to die. They should be grateful that he gave them a chance to live. Submit to you? Who do you think you are? Even if you're the old ancestor of the god-burying clan, you think you're worthy of us submitting to you? Li Chunfeng sneered with a trace of arrogance in his eyes. After knowing the origin of the Feng Shui family, he also knew that in the divine world, when the Feng Shui family was at its peak, even sages didn't dare to be presumptuous. How could a mere god-burying clan make him submit to them? Li Chunfeng was the head of the Feng Shui family. If he returned to the divine world, he would be the head of the Feng Shui family. Naturally, he had his own pride. Although Mu Tianji did not say anything, the mockery in his eyes was obvious. Obviously, he also felt that Zhang Xian was not worthy of them submitting to him. Zhang Xian's face instantly darkened. The Feng Shui family and Tomb Monarch City are sinners of the divine world, and should have been exterminated. This young master, I gave you a chance. Since that's the case, then all of you can die. Kill them. Zhang Xian said coldly as a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. So Feng Shui to him. Even if they had a glorious past, they were now nothing more than a bunch of ants. To Zhang Zhang, of Zhang Xian's be it. 2. The heavens and earth trembled as the two aged figures exuded an exceedingly eerie aura. They were like ghost kings from the 9 nether hells, cold and dark, exuding an eerie ghostly aura. Their withered hands were akin to ghost claws, grabbing towards Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji respectively. Stop them. Once Lord Ling Xiao succeeds in his tribulation, they will all die. Li Chunfeng's expression changed slightly as he said with a solemn expression. He stomped his foot, causing the ground to rumble and the void to tremble. Streaks of qi of heaven and earth surged out, mixing with the blazing divine light and shooting into the sky. Li Chunfeng's body turned blurry in an instant. The surrounding mountains trembled, as if they had turned into numerous earth dragons, violently shaking. The qi of heaven and earth and the resplendent divine light were hazy in all directions, blurring everything and making it impossible to see. The power of a Feng Shui family is indeed extraordinary. It's a pity that they are still too weak. Zhang Xian looked at them in surprise. However, he didn't make a move. Li Chunfeng used the power of the earth dragon vein to set up a vast Feng Shui killing array. It instantly enveloped the two old men. Mu Tianji's eyes flashed. He formed a seal with both hands. Streams of black light shot into the Feng Shui killing array. They contained terrifying energy waves. Rumble. A violent explosion sounded. The black ball of light seemed to contain some kind of destructive power that wanted to completely kill the two old men. When Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji worked together, they actually managed to unleash a terrifying amount of power. Kacha! However, the strength of the two old men was terrifying. The black light around them surged and the explosive energy couldn't do anything to them. Instead, their ghostly claws tore through the void and shredded the Xianhuang Qi into pieces. When the heavens unleash their killing intent, the stars move. When the earth unleashes its killing intent, dragons and snakes rise. When the humans unleash their killing intent, the heavens and earth turn upside down. When the heavens and humans unite, everything changes. Li Chunfeng looked solemn as he muttered something under his breath. The surrounding void started to tremble violently. The laws of heaven and earth seemed to have been triggered by him. The mountains trembled violently. Even the divine caverns in the surroundings began to suppress the two old men. The feng shui killing array seemed to be giving birth to a world that was about to be destroyed. The heavens and earth turned upside down, the stars moved, and all living beings cried out in grief. This kind of power made Ming Yu's eyes turn solemn. He could feel that if he were to fall into the feng shui killing array, he would be reduced to ashes in an instant. He wouldn't be able to withstand the power of heaven and earth. Just this feng shui killing array alone gave Li Chunfeng the strength to fight against a godly spirit expert. Unfortunately, the two old men weren't ordinary godly spirits. If Ling Xiao was here, he would be able to tell that the two old men had already reached the peak of the godly spirit realm. It was just that they had stayed in the mortal realm for too long. The divine energy in their bodies had deteriorated, and they could only unleash the strength of a late-stage godly spirit realm expert. Even so, it was still extremely terrifying. Rumble. The two old men exuded extremely terrifying fluctuations. They instantly soared into the sky. Their hands were like giant pillars that could hold up the sky. In an instant, they tore apart the feng shui killing formation. The mountains that were coming at them were also shattered by them. The two old men's eyes were incomparably cold as they charged towards Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji both smiled bitterly. The gap between their cultivation bases was simply too great. If both of them were able to attain the heavenly divinity, they might still stand a chance against Emo. But now, all their attacks couldn't do any damage to the two old men. Boom! At this moment, the vast sea of lightning in the void seemed to have exploded. Thick bolts of lightning shot through the void, turning the entire divine cavern into a world of lightning. Just as the two old men were about to reach Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji, a vast lightning bolt descended from the sky. It was extremely bright and resplendent, suppressing the two old men. Chapter 1131. Kaboom! Dazzling lightning exploded, and the two elders from the God-burying clan trembled violently. Lightning flashed as they were sent flying. The lightning that filled the sky dissipated, and a figure shrouded in blazing lightning appeared in front of everyone. He finally succeeded. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji sucked in a deep breath of air as excitement flickered in their eyes. Dual God Stage, Ling Xiao's physical body and divine force were both godly. Ling Xiao's true strength could be said to be unrivaled in the divine spirit realm. Ling Xiao's body glowed with golden light, and his black hair danced in the wind. His entire person exuded an invincible and mysterious aura. He looked extraordinarily handsome, and his body glowed. His body was slender and strong, and he exuded an ancient dragon's aura. His eyes were bright and sharp, like two divine swords that pierced through the void. In the sea of lightning tribulation, the shadows of the 9 emperors were all torn apart by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had comprehended part of the martial will of the 9 emperors, and with his invincible physical body and engulfing divine sea, he had killed all of the 9 emperors and devoured and absorbed part of their laws. To Ling Xiao, this was an unimaginable benefit, and it meant that his path of divine Tao had become wider. After attaining the dual God stage, the engulfing divine sea was unparalleled, and it could maintain the divine force in Ling Xiao's body at a very high level at all times. It was only now that Ling Xiao was able to fully unleash the 4 elephants striking the heavens without suffering too much of a backlash. More importantly, through the battle with the 9 emperors, Ling Xiao discovered many mysterious uses of martial arts, especially the measurement of strength and combat strength. It was just like the saying of martial artists in the mortal world, 4 tails can defeat 1,000 caddies. He could use less strength to defeat his opponent. For example, right now, Ling Xiao had merely unleashed the battle prowess of a titled supreme being, yet it was enough to kill a godly spirit realm master. You are Ling Xiao. There was a flash of light in Zhang Xian's eyes as he revealed a curious and passionate expression. He could feel that Ling Xiao's body exuded an extremely dangerous aura, which meant that Ling Xiao's combat strength was extremely strong. God-burying clan. If I remember correctly, I don't have any enmity with the God-burying clan, right? If you leave now, I won't kill you. Ling Xiao glanced at Zhang Xian and said calmly. No enmity. Ling Xiao, you killed so many people from Emperor Tomb Mountain, causing many of my God-burying race's plans to go to waste. Is this not called enmity? If my guess is correct, the wordless heavenly book should be in your hands, right? Hand it over and submit to me. I can spare your life. Zhang Xian did not seem to have any self-awareness as he looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. Wordless heavenly book. So your God-burying clan also came for the wordless heavenly book. Since that's the case, I have no choice but to kill all of you. Ling Xiao said calmly as if he was stating a fact, but the murderous intent in his voice made people shudder. According to what Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji had said, since the God-burying race had appeared, they must have suspected that the wordless heavenly book was in Ling Xiao's possession. Naturally, they wouldn't let Ling Xiao off. The God-burying race probably had the same idea as the celestial race. They were both eyeing the wordless heavenly book on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao did not deny it. After all, he had used the textless heavenly book many times. To others, the textless heavenly book was no secret. Kill all of us. Ha ha ha. Ling Xiao, you're really arrogant. Do you think that after becoming a god, you have the right to be arrogant in front of this young master? Let's not talk about whether you can kill this young master. Even if you can kill me, my god-burying race's old ancestor will not let you off. Ling Xiao, don't waste your time. You've already become the target of everyone. The celestial race and the sorcerer race are all eyeing the wordless heavenly book on you. If you hand over the wordless heavenly book and submit to this young master will definitely protect your life. In the future, I'll even bring you into the realm of the gods. Zhang Xian laughed coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. Although Ling Xiao was very strong, he didn't believe that Ling Xiao could kill him and the 2 powerhouses from the God-burying clan by himself. Moreover, this was the God-burying cave, the land of the God-burying race. If Ling Xiao made any strange moves, the old ancestor would not let him off. The ignorant are truly fearless. In my eyes, you're just a bunch of ants. As for the old ancestor you mentioned, I really want to see how much strength he has left after 1,000,000 years. Ling Xiao said indifferently, his eyes filled with a strong fighting spirit. According to Zhu Ganglai, even a god-level expert only had a lifespan of 1,000,000 years. The celestial race's heavenly king and the old ancestor of the god-burying race were probably old monsters who had lived for more than 1,000,000 years. Now, they did not have much lifespan left. Therefore, even if the old ancestor of the god-burying race had the strength of a true god, Ling Xiao was not afraid. Arrogant. Then this young master wants to see what qualifications you have to be so arrogant. Zhang Xian laughed coldly, his eyes revealing a cold killing intent. Buzz. A light flashed in his hand, and in an instant, a black ancient cauldron floated above his head. It contained an ancient and mysterious aura, and its divine power was vast. It seemed to be intertwined with his entire body. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Zhang Xian's strength was not even comparable to the 2 old men of the god-burying race. However, since he dared to fight Ling Xiao, he probably relied on this ancient cauldron. The black ancient cauldron was heavy and mysterious. It emitted a desolate and barren fluctuation as if it wanted to bury heaven and earth in this ancient cauldron. The sky-burying cauldron, the treasure of the sky-burying race, contained an extremely terrifying power. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could almost instantly confirm that this sky-burying cauldron was not the slightest bit inferior to the demon saint's scepter. The sky-burying cauldron was also a god-king weapon. No wonder Zhang Xian was so confident. Kill! Zhang Xian's eyes flashed with killing intent as he punched towards Ling Xiao. At the same time, wisps of black mist escaped from the sky-burying cauldron and attached to his fist, causing his fist to contain an extremely terrifying fluctuation. Ling Xiao's expression was calm. Even with the sky-burying cauldron, he did not take Zhang Xian seriously at all. After all, the gap between them was too great. Moreover, no matter how strong the sky-burying cauldron was, this was the mortal world. The power of a god-king weapon was suppressed. Moreover, with Zhang Xian's cultivation, he could not fully activate the sky-burying cauldron. Rumble. Ling Xiao punched out and a resplendent fist mark erupted, containing an indestructible power. When the two fists collided, the air trembled violently. Zhang Xian's expression changed abruptly. He felt a power that could destroy everything coming at him. It broke through his fist almost instantly. It wanted to kill him with one punch. Buzz! The sky-burying cauldron shone with a dense light as if a layer of black barrier had enveloped Zhang Xian. Even though Ling Xiao's punch was incomparably terrifying, it could not do anything to Zhang Xian in the end. It was as if it had struck the void. That layer of barrier trembled slightly, but in the end, it still managed to block Ling Xiao's punch. Chapter 1132. Clang! The heaven-burying cauldron trembled slightly and emitted a clear sound. It emitted an ancient and mysterious fluctuation, causing the space to tremble violently. Black divine light filled the air and turned into sharp rays of light that pierced towards Ling Xiao. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. He raised his 5 fingers to the sky and mysterious runes spurted out from his palm. His palm print covered the sky and instantly shattered the divine light emitted by the burying sky cauldron. Swoosh! Ling Xiao was extremely fast. His entire body was shrouded in golden light as he punched towards Zhang Xian. The golden fist imprint contained an indestructible power. Ling Xiao activated his physical strength to the extreme, and the power of the war god flowed through his entire body. His divine dragon body also erupted with a vast and terrifying dragon's might, causing this fist to contain a power that could steal one's soul. In the god's test, the battle between Ling Xiao and the 9 emperors had benefited him a lot. Especially the great emperor with the invincible fist intent. That kind of state where all living beings would grieve and heaven and earth would shatter with a single punch made him unconsciously integrated into his own fist principle. Zhang Xian's eyes revealed a trace of horror. Facing Ling Xiao's punch, he felt as though he was facing the ancestor of the god-burying clan. Even with the burying sky cauldron, he still felt a fatal murderous intent. It was as though all his attacks were useless against Ling Xiao. Zhang Xian could only desperately pour the divine power in his body into the burying sky cauldron and activate the power of the burying sky cauldron to block Ling Xiao's punch. Buzz! The burying sky cauldron shone brightly and the ancient runes lit up. Dark light filled the air and the mouth of the cauldron spewed out a black mist as though it was going to devour heaven and earth. Boom! Ling Xiao's punch landed on the burying sky cauldron. Suddenly, an extremely blazing divine light storm erupted. The void trembled violently and the runes on the burying sky cauldron exploded. This punch was incomparably fierce and invincible. It contained an invincible fist intent that could destroy everything. Even though Zhang Xian hid under the burying sky cauldron and used the power of the burying sky cauldron to block Ling Xiao's punch, part of the invincible divine power still passed through. Zhang Xian was dizzy and his entire body trembled violently. I'd like to see if your tortoise shell can protect you. Ling Xiao's entire body exuded an unparalleled battle intent. Golden divine light shot up into the sky, and he punched out again. Zhang Xian did not seem to be able to resist Ling Zhao's attack at all. He could only use the power of the heaven-burying cauldron to block Ling Zhao's attack. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji's eyes flashed with surprise and excitement. Ling Zhao's strength was getting more and more unfathomable. If Ling Zhao's physical body had become a god, he would have been like a god of war in their eyes. His battle prowess would be unparalleled. However, the current Ling Zhao was like a vast ocean whose depth could not be seen. It made them unable to even feel a shred of battle intent. The two old men from the god-burying clan were also shocked. Ling Zhao's formidable strength caused their scalps to tingle. However, Zhang Xian's identity was too important. They couldn't let anything happen to Zhang Xian, so they could only brace themselves. Ling Zhao, don't be so arrogant. An old and cold voice rang out. The two old men from the god-burying clan pounced towards Ling Zhao at the same time. Black light rose from their bodies, forming a domain of darkness. Numerous python-like chains shot towards Ling Zhao. The two of them had seen how terrifying Ling Zhao was. Hence, they could only hope to trap Ling Zhao for a moment. Numerous black chains surged, densely packed together. It was unknown how many there were, but they wanted to completely trap Ling Zhao. Boom! At the same time, Ling Zhao's fist landed on the heaven-burying cauldron. Resplendent divine light erupted once again. Feeling the aura of the two old men from the god-burying clan behind him, Ling Zhao's gaze was incomparably cold. He welcomed the black chains that filled the sky, not bothering to dodge at all. At the same time, a golden flame rose from Ling Zhao's palm. It contained an aura that could swallow everything. This was the heaven-swallowing divine fire. After Ling Zhao's heaven-swallowing secret technique condensed the heaven-swallowing divine sea, the heaven-swallowing divine fire had also transformed into the heaven-swallowing divine fire. The heaven-swallowing divine fire could burn anything. It could burn rivers and boil seas. It was terrifying to the extreme. In an instant, it turned into a vast sea of flames that enveloped the two old men from the god-burying clan. The black chains that filled the sky were formed from the power of the god-burying clan within their bodies. But, when they encountered the heaven-swallowing divine fire, it was as if they had met their nemesis. They instantly began to burn, turning into ashes in an instant. As for the heaven-swallowing divine fire, it followed the aura of the god-burying clan's power. As if it had a mind of its own, it spread towards the two old men from the god-burying clan. What? Feeling the terrifying power of the heaven-swallowing divine fire, the two old men from the god-burying clan's complexion changed. They felt the threat of death. Without thinking, they directly shot away. You want to leave? You'd better stay here. Ling Zhao's eyes were indifferent. Although the two old men from the god-burying clan possessed extraordinary strength, the power of the god-burying clan was originally restrained by the heaven-swallowing divine fire. When they encountered Ling Zhao, it was as if they had met their nemesis. Whoosh! Ling Zhao's figure was like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he appeared in front of the two old men from the god-burying clan and punched out. The two old men's complexions changed. But, that incomparably fierce fist had already arrived in front of them. There was no way for them to dodge. They could only stimulate the strength of their bodies to resist with all their might. Bang! A golden fist broke out, and the two old men from the god-burying race were sent flying by Ling Zhao's fist. Their arms exploded into a bloody mist, and they were sent flying several thousand feet away, falling into the sea of fire formed by the heaven-swallowing divine fire. The heaven-swallowing divine fire instantly enveloped the two old men. Moreover, when the power of the god-burying clan within their bodies encountered the heaven-swallowing divine fire, it was like oil had been poured onto a fire. It burned even more fiercely. Ah! The two old men from the god-burying clan let out incomparably miserable cries. They tumbled in the sea of flames, but they were unable to escape the burning of the heaven-swallowing divine fire. The miserable cries caused Zhang Xian's scalp to tingle. His eyes were filled with incomparable horror. Ling Xiao, do you really want to become enemies with my god-burying clan? Release the two elders and I can let you leave here. Zhang Xian's expression was ugly as he shouted at Ling Xiao. Become enemies with your god-burying clan? From the moment you coveted the wordless heavenly book in my possession, we were already irreconcilable. Ling Xiao coldly smiled, his eyes full of ridicule. Puff! Killing intent flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He didn't care about Zhang Xian's murderous gaze at all. His palm shone brightly, and a palm blade chopped down. Immediately, the two old men were split into 4 halves. The heaven-swallowing divine fire swept over them, instantly swallowing their primordial spirits and godheads. Boundless divine power essence poured into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was already incomparably powerful, especially after refining the primordial spirits and godheads of so many demon gods. However, the primordial spirits and godheads of these two old men from the god-burying clan made Ling Xiao's primordial spirit even more solid and pure. Chapter 1133. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. Zhang Xian's face was extremely gloomy and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He did not expect that in the God Burial Cave, in the territory of the God Burial Clan, Ling Xiao would dare to kill 2 divine spirits of the God Burial Clan. The 2 elders of the God Burial Clan were lucky survivors of the war 1,000,000 years ago. In the entire God Burial Clan, there were not many divine spirit experts like them. Buzz! At this moment, the sky-burying cauldron shone brightly. Zhang Xian silently chanted and a mysterious and terrifying figure appeared in the void. It was a middle-aged man in black armor. He was heroic and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His body was strong and he exuded a powerful aura. He was enveloped in black divine light. His eyes were extremely sharp and contained an indifferent and cold expression. He was extremely aggressive. He looked at Ling Xiao indifferently as if he was looking at an ant. Greetings, Ancestor. He is Ling Xiao. The textless heavenly book is with him. He killed 2 elders of the God Burial Clan. Ancestor, please kill him. When Zhang Xian saw the middle-aged man appear, his eyes were filled with fanaticism and respect. He knelt down and bowed. You are Ling Xiao. The ancestor of the God Burial Clan looked at Ling Xiao indifferently with a strange look in his eyes. You are the ancestor of the God Burial Clan. You are just a clone. If you don't want to die, let your real body come. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he said calmly. He could feel that the ancestor of the God Burial Clan in front of him was just a spirit clone that was attached to the sky-burying cauldron. It was not the real body of the ancestor of the God Burial Clan. However, even if it was just a divine clone, its strength was still extremely terrifying. It far surpassed the 2 old men from the God-burying clan and Zhang Xian. Ling Xiao could feel that the power of this divine clone had probably reached the peak of the divine spirit realm. Young man, you are really arrogant. Do you think that you are worthy of the ancestor's real body appearing? The ancestor of the God Burial Clan was not angry. Instead, he smiled faintly. It is not up to you to decide whether I am worthy or not. I don't want to waste my breath on you. If you want to get the wordless heavenly book, then let's see if you have the ability. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered. Young man, I don't want to bully you. How about this, as long as you can take 3 of my moves, I'll let you go. How about that? If you can't even take 3 of my moves, then you don't deserve to have a treasure like the wordless heavenly book. The old ancestor of the God-burying clan said indifferently. 3 moves. Very good, then let me experience the ultimate techniques of the God-burying race. A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he agreed. He could feel that the old ancestor of the God-burying clan was a character with monstrous strength. After all, to be able to survive the great calamity 1,000,000 years ago was not something an ordinary person could do. Since they were destined to be enemies, it would be good to use this clone of the God-burying clan's old ancestor to test his true strength. Moreover, through the battle with the old ancestor of the god-burying clan, Ling Xiao could also see the true strength of the deities in the other forbidden lands, such as the experts of the heavenly human tribe and the sorcerer tribe. No matter what the old ancestor of the god-burying clan was scheming, Ling Xiao did not care. The moment the old ancestor of the god-burying race appeared, Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji jumped in fright. They were afraid that Ling Xiao wouldn't be a match for him. But when they saw that it was just a clone, they were able to relax for the time being. Do you think Ling Xiao can take 3 of Zhang Su's moves? Li Chunfeng secretly transmitted his voice to Mu Tianji. It shouldn't be a problem. It is just a clone. With Ling Xiao's current combat strength, it is not impossible for him to kill Zhang Su's clone. What we should be more worried about is the combat strength of Zhang Su's real body. Mu Tianji's eyes flashed as he said slowly. If the clone goes all out, it should be able to unleash the true combat strength of the original body. Let's see if Ling Xiao can force Zhang Su to use his true strength. Let's hope so. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji looked at Ling Xiao and Zhang Su, who were in the void, with anticipation in their eyes. Young man, you are indeed courageous. I heard that your physical body is extremely strong. Let's have a taste of this move of mine, the Skyfall Hammer. Zhang Su's eyes revealed a trace of admiration as he said slowly. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the void began to tremble violently. Lightning flashed as he raised his hand and formed a fist seal. The primordial chaos was unparalleled. It was like a giant hammer that reached the heavens, smashing down on Ling Xiao from the 9 heavens. Ling Xiao's gaze turned serious. This fist seemed to have merged with the heavens and earth. As the Skyfall hammer came down, the primordial chaos was boundless. It contained an unstoppable force, as if it wanted to shatter everything into dust. The Skyfall hammer gave Ling Xiao an illusion. It was as if the great emperor from the deity's tribulation had come back to life. The invincible fist intent that could destroy everything was very similar to it. However, when Zhang Su executed it, it was obviously a little sluggish. The realm of his fist intent was also much lower. Could it be that this Skyfall hammer was the martial art of that great emperor? Ling Xiao became excited when he thought of this. If he could obtain the martial arts technique of the great emperor, it would definitely make his path to the divine path more solid. Kill. Ling Xiao did not have time to think. He immediately focused his mind and divine power rose around him. Dragon power filled the air and he also threw a punch at Zhang Su. 1,000 Dragons God-slaying skill. Above Ling Xiao's fist seal, golden light shone brightly. 10,000 dragons rose and 49 7-colored divine dragons moved unhindered. They covered the sky and pounced on Zhang Su. Ling Xiao could feel that the 1,000 dragons god-slaying skill was not as powerful as the Skyfall hammer. However, it was superior in that Ling Xiao's physical body had become a god and was recognized by the heavenly Tao. It had an almost invincible force, which made his punch equally ferocious. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled violently as the 2 fist seals suddenly collided. Blazing divine light gushed out. The 49 7-colored divine dragons were actually blasted apart by the Skyfall hammer. However, Ling Xiao's fist intent contained an unyielding and invincible fluctuation. In the end, it was destroyed along with the Skyfall hammer. Ling Xiao and Zhang Su both trembled and were sent flying back at the same time. However, Ling Xiao was only sent flying by a dozen steps while Zhang Su was sent flying by more than 300 meters. It was obvious that Ling Xiao had the upper hand. Has his physical body become a god? Powerful indeed. A sharp light flashed in Zhang Su's eyes and he revealed a trace of amazement. Previously, there had been news that Ling Xiao's physical body had become a god. However, he did not believe it. After all, it was very difficult to achieve this even in the deity's realm, let alone in a mere mortal world. Chapter 1134. Zhang Su's Skyfall hammer was a peerless fist technique that he had obtained from an ancient ruin. It was a pity that he only had this move and did not obtain the complete martial art's true meaning. Moreover, if he wanted to cultivate it to perfection, he would have to become a god with his physical body. Unfortunately, he did not become a god physically, so he had only cultivated the Skyfall hammer to the greater success stage. However, 1,000,000 years ago, he had used the Skyfall hammer to kill countless extraterritorial devils. It was extremely terrifying. Although Zhang Su's clone only had the strength of a peak divine spirit realm expert, once the Skyfall hammer was used, even an ordinary peak divine spirit realm expert would be killed directly. However, not only was Ling Xiao not injured, but he also broke the Skyfall hammer and gained the upper hand. Very good. Next is the second move, God-burying annihilating light. Zhang Su's eyes flickered as he began to look at Ling Xiao seriously. Boom! Black divine light rose around him. It was as vast as the sea, causing the surrounding void to begin to tremble. Wisps of black mist rose as if the sky had turned into a world of darkness. Divine power surged around Zhang Su's body. The dazzling divine light covered the sky and covered the earth as it enveloped Ling Xiao. God-burying annihilating light was a divine light formed by burying a god's power. It could wipe out a person's physical body, primordial spirit, fate, and even all traces of existence. Zhang Su knew that Ling Xiao had become a god physically, so he used the God-burying annihilating light to target Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, wanting to completely wipe him out. It's actually the God-burying annihilating light? This is the ancestor's ultimate move. Ling Xiao is dead this time. Zhang Xian's eyes revealed a trace of shock as he spoke with incomparable excitement. As a member of the God-burying clan, he naturally knew how terrifying the God-burying annihilating light was. Ling Xiao's physical body had become a god, but his primordial spirit was probably still a weakness. He would not be able to withstand this move at all. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He felt a stabbing pain between his brows. Before the God-burying annihilating light arrived, his brows were already on the verge of exploding. Devouring divine sea, devour. Ling Xiao's entire body glowed with golden light as he soared into the sky. A vast heaven-devouring divine ocean appeared behind him, transforming into an incomparably blazing devouring vortex. The sky-devouring secret skill was ranked 14th among the Heaven Star secret skills. It was extremely powerful and even more miraculous than the ancestral dragon secret skill. Especially after Ling Xiao formed the sky-devouring divine sea, it could be said that there was nothing it couldn't devour. Although the God-burial light extinguishing light was also extremely terrifying, it was still only an extremely condensed energy in front of the heaven-devouring secret technique. Rumble. The devouring heaven divine sea was incomparably vast, shrouding everything around Ling Xiao. Endless God-burying exterminating light fell on the devouring heaven divine sea, bursting out a dazzling radiance. It was like a giant wave soaring to the sky, causing the devouring heaven divine sea to tremble violently. However, the heaven-devouring divine sea contained a power fluctuation that could devour everything. In the end, it still devoured all of the God-burial light. Sky-devouring secret technique. You really did obtain the wordless heavenly book. To be able to cultivate the heaven-devouring secret technique to such a level, I'm afraid your divine power laws have already proven your Tao and become a god, right? Dual God realm, your talent is indeed very strong. Zhang Su's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of shock. He naturally knew what the dual God realm meant. With Ling Xiao's terrifying talent and the power of the wordless heavenly book, he would be another Scarlet Dragon war god in the future. Zhang Su almost could not suppress the killing intent in his heart. However, when he thought of the plan, he forcibly suppressed the killing intent in his heart. Ling Xiao, take my third move. If you can take this move, I'll spare your life today. Zhang Su's eyes were indifferent as he suddenly roared, heaven-burying cauldron, heaven-burying realm. Rumble. The void in all directions began to shake violently. Under Zhang Su's control, the heaven-burying cauldron blazed with light and instantly soared into the sky. With the mouth of the cauldron facing downwards, a blazing black light rose up, turning into a vast world of darkness. Strands of God-burying power spread out, instantly causing the world to turn dark, the surroundings trembled, and all the light disappeared. He couldn't even see his own fingers. Only the coldest killing intense stimulated Ling Xiao's nerves. The heaven-burying cauldron overturned, turning into a dark heaven-burying realm. It wanted to swallow all life and light and bury all things. In the heaven-burying realm, Ling Xiao seemed to have been stripped of his senses and senses. It was as if he had fallen into eternal loneliness and darkness. Even though Ling Xiao knew that this was the power of the heaven-burying cauldron that Zhang Su had used, that strange feeling still made him feel a little afraid. Everyone would feel fear. Even the most powerful gods would feel fear. However, the difference was whether you could overcome this fear, face it head-on, or even use it. Although Ling Xiao could feel that instinctive fear, he did not suppress it. He knew that fear could make him more clear-headed and sense where the danger was. Rumble. A sharp light suddenly flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. It was as if a blazing sword light had broken through the endless darkness. He instantly soared into the sky and then blasted a fist towards the darkness before him. Yellow, black, cyan, and red divine lights instantly soared into the sky, making this dark world seem to have a mysterious color. Then, Ling Xiao's fist became more and more blazing, containing the power to destroy everything. The divine lights of the four divisions gathered into chaos, giving this fist a strange power to return to chaos and destroy the world. Four divisions heaven-striking style. Kacha. As if some kind of barrier had been opened, the darkness in front of him was instantly torn apart. Then, endless light shone in. Ling Xiao's fist fiercely slammed into the heaven-burying cauldron. Buzz! The heaven-burying cauldron emitted a mysterious fluctuation, causing the void to tremble. The terrifying fist intent exploded and blasted the heaven-burying cauldron hundreds of feet away. Ling Xiao had broken free. After Ling Xiao broke through the heaven-burying realm, Zhang Su seemed to have suffered a huge backlash. His entire figure became incomparably illusory. However, his eyes became brighter and brighter. Good. Very good. Ling Xiao, since you can take 3 of my moves, you are indeed qualified to inherit the Scarlet Dragon War God's legacy. Today, I will let you go. However, the next time we meet, don't blame me for being impolite. Zhang Su stared at Ling Xiao and said slowly. Let me go. Since we are destined to be enemies, then both of you should stay here. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. Zhang Su intended to let him go, but he did not intend to let Zhang Su go. Suddenly, the light around his body was dazzling. He instantly soared into the sky and pointed his finger like a sword. The sword light was extremely blazing and charged towards Zhang Su and Zhang Xian. You don't have the strength to kill me. Chapter 1135. Rumble. Ling Xiao's sword also landed on the sky-burying cauldron. The sword radiance was blazing and sharp, causing the sky-burying cauldron to shine brightly. However, as it was a God-King weapon, Ling Xiao was still unable to break through its defense. Also, I'll give you a piece of news for free. If I'm not wrong, the real body of Demon God King Bo Sun is hidden in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land. The Heavenly Devil tribe in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land is massacring the living beings of the War God continent. They should be refining the Heavenly Devil altar to summon Demon God King Bo Sun back. If you're too late, I'm afraid you won't be able to stop them. Zhang Su's voice rang out in the void before he disappeared in front of Ling Xiao. However, Zhang Su's words caused Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji's bodies to tremble as a trace of seriousness appeared in their eyes. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Through the battle with Zhang Su's doppelganger, he could see Zhang Su's true strength. He was probably not much stronger than this doppelganger. Otherwise, he could have revealed his real body and killed Ling Xiao to snatch the wordless heavenly book. Now, it could only mean that Zhang Su was not confident in dealing with Ling Xiao. Do you think Zhang Su is telling the truth? Ling Xiao looked at Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji and asked calmly. It's hard to say whether demon god King Bo Sun's real body is in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land. However, the Heavenly Devil tribe in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land has appeared and is massacring the living beings of the War God continent. We'll know once we check. It shouldn't be fake. However, I'm afraid Zhang Su is up to no good by telling us this. Li Chunfeng's eyes flashed as he said slowly. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with wisdom as he said indifferently, of course I know Zhang Su is up to no good. If I'm not wrong, he probably wants me to fight demon god King Bo Sun to the death so that he can reap the benefits. Mu Tianji's eyes widened as he nodded. That's very likely. The god-burying tribe, the heavenly human tribe, the sorcerer tribe and the other divine spirits of the Forbidden Lands are probably a bunch of cowards who are afraid of death. Otherwise, they wouldn't have survived the calamity 1,000,000 years ago. They know how strong demon god King Bo Sun is. They definitely don't have the confidence to face him. That's why they're sending you here. That's right. If I hadn't been able to withstand Buried Void's 3 moves, he would have killed me and snatched the wordless heavenly book. His 3 moves were just a test. My strength has gained his recognition, so he probably wants me to fight against demon god King Bo Sun. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given up on the wordless heavenly book so easily. Ling Xiao said calmly with a hint of mockery in his eyes. These godly spirits hiding in the forbidden grounds viewed the living beings of the war god continent as worthless. Even if they knew that the Sky Devil race was hunting living beings in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land, they didn't think of rescuing them. Instead, they wanted to scheme against Ling Xiao. In Ling Xiao's eyes, these immortals were no different from the devils of the outer realm. They all deserved to die. Then let's go quickly. If the Sky Devil clan really comes out, the experts of the War God continent won't be able to resist the demon god of the Sky Devil clan. I'm afraid it will be extremely dangerous. A hint of worry flashed across Li Chunfeng's eyes. Good. Let's go. Since Buried Void wants me and demon god King Bo Sun to perish together, why shouldn't I fulfill his wish? This time, I will kill all the demons in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land. A cold killing intent flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He instantly soared into the sky and flew out of the god burial cave. Li Chunfeng and Mu Tianji looked at each other and followed Ling Xiao out of the cave. In the 3 years that Ling Xiao was in seclusion, the entire War God continent was in turmoil. Especially when the Sky Devil race came out of the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land, they started a massacre on the War God continent. The 3 great demon gods of the Sky Devil clan had emerged. In the past few months, they had captured thousands of living beings of the human clan. Many sects had even been directly annihilated. The entire War God continent was in grief. Some people even went to the 8 great forbidden grounds to ask for help. Unfortunately, the godly spirits in the forbidden grounds didn't care about the lives of the people in the War God continent. Not a single one of them came to help. At this moment, everyone thought of Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao appeared, he would definitely kill those evil demon gods and sweep the entire Heavenly Devil Ancient Land clean. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao hadn't appeared for 3 years. Even the Longevity sect had disappeared without a trace. Ling Xiao returned to the Longevity sect through the Heavenly Stone. Ling Xiao's exit made the Longevity sect's disciples and his old friends very happy. This meant that Ling Xiao's strength had increased, and he had a lot more confidence in facing the extraterrestrial demons. However, what made Ling Xiao puzzled was that the old goat, Taoist Wu Yang, Big Radish, and Longevity Grass had left the Longevity sect. It was said that the old goat went to the Holy Ground to ask for help from the ancient demon race. If the ancient demon race was willing to help, they would have more confidence in fighting against the extraterrestrial demons. Taoist Wu Yang, Big Radish, and Longevity Grass were also said to have gone to seek help and train. In these 3 years, the cultivation of the disciples of the Longevity sect had increased by leaps and bounds. Many of the genius disciples' cultivation showed signs of a blowout after receiving sufficient resources. This was especially true for Ling Xiao's 7 direct disciples. They originally possessed the power of the divine way. In these 7 years, their cultivation had almost reached the peak of the sovereign realm. They were only a sliver away from advancing to the divine realm. When they reached the divine realm, if they fused together to form the 7 evils gourd, it would definitely have the power to destroy heaven and earth. Cousin, the war god continent has been in complete chaos these few months. I want to exterminate those experts of the demon race. It's a pity that the old man and aunt won't let me out. Long Outyen rode on the fire Qilin and exuded a powerful dragon's aura. His eyes were filled with depression. The divine dragon bloodline in his body had been completely awakened and his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. Ling Xiao had also passed on the cultivation method of the divine dragon body to him. Ling Xiao even felt that Long Outyen would be the next person to become a god with his physical body. After all, this kid's talent was too strong. It's right to not let you out. With your current cultivation, the demon god can kill you with one slap. Ling Xiao glared at him in exasperation. Cousin, are we just going to let those demon bastards be arrogant? If this continues, I'm afraid the entire war god world will be destroyed in their hands. Long Outyen said anxiously. Chapter 1136. Uncle, you're right. The Heavenly Fiend tribe captured humans to use their flesh and blood to forge the Heavenly Fiend altar and summon the demon god King Bo Sun. So, I've come back this time to wipe out the entire Heavenly Fiend ancient land. Ling Xiao's eyes glinted as he spoke calmly. Alright. Xiao, you're right. We have to take the initiative to attack. No matter what the Heavenly Fiend tribe is up to, we can't let them succeed. Right at this moment, a hearty and clear laughter sounded. Long Hanyan and Ling Zhen walked in side by side. Long Hanyan's face was filled with a blissful smile. Her smile was like a flower. Ling Zhen, who was beside her, was tall and handsome. He was dressed in a white robe. Although his white hair was fluttering in the wind, his eyes shone brightly and he was in high spirits. He was very handsome and elegant. Mother, father. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of surprise. Speaking of which, this was his first official meeting with Ling Zhen. Previously, Ling Zhen had always appeared as the divine general of time. When Ling Xiao discovered his true identity, he had been heavily injured because he had used the Sutra of Time to help Ling Xiao deal with the left and right heavenly lords. After seeing Ling Zhen, Ling Xiao immediately felt a sense of closeness as if they were related by blood. It even made his eyes brim with tears. These were the parents who had raised him. Even if Ling Xiao was the heaven-devouring supreme who dominated the world in his previous life, he was still the son of Long Hanyan and Ling Zhen. Good lad, well done. Ling Zhen patted Ling Xiao's shoulder heavily. His eyes were filled with satisfaction and pride. Ling Zhen recalled the first time he met Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was only at the monarch realm. Ling Zhen had always been worried about whether Ling Xiao could face a colossus like the War God Hall. Who would have thought that in just a few years, Ling Xiao would not only destroy the War God Hall, but also become a god and become the strongest expert in the entire War God continent. Although he knew that Ling Xiao was the heaven-devouring supreme in his previous life, it didn't affect Ling Zhen's mood at all. Father, it seems like you've recovered from your injuries. Ling Xiao looked at Ling Zhen with a smile in his eyes. At this moment, Ling Zhen could be said to have broken through to the titled Supreme Realm. His aura was extremely majestic, and even his life source was extremely abundant. I'm fine. However, I'm proud of you to see that you've surpassed me. However, with great power comes great responsibility. I believe that you will definitely be able to wipe out the Outer Realm demons and bring peace to the War God world. Ling Zhen's eyes were filled with anticipation and pride. Father, don't worry, the Heavenly Fiend race, I will destroy the Heavenly Fiend ancient land this time. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with determination. Big brother, I'll go with you this time. Isn't it just a bunch of demons? I'll annihilate all of them. The white dragon horse said nonchalantly. Its eyes were full of pride. Cousin, you have to bring me along this time. Those bastards should have died long ago. I long dragon, I long Tian. Long dragon Long Outyen said hurriedly. However, Long Lai glared at him and even gave him a kick on the chestnut. He was in so much pain that tears welled up in his eyes. Everyone laughed when they saw this. Ling Zhao's 7 true disciples, Mu Linfeng, Lu Jiani, and the rest, all volunteered to go with Ling Zhao to conquer the heavenly fiend ancient land. These 7 fellows had been reborn. Not only were their bodies much younger, but their temperaments had also become like that of a child. They hung around with Long Outyen and liked to mess around. They wanted to see the world in chaos. In an instant, the longevity hall was bustling with noise and excitement. Ling Zhao felt a little helpless. Master, you've reached the double god realm. I'm afraid it'll be extremely difficult for you to reach the triple god realm. However, I've recently discovered a treasure that might be able to help you. Zhu Ganglai suddenly said to Ling Zhao mysteriously. Oh. What treasure? Ling Zhao smiled and said. Master, please follow me. Zhu Ganglai chuckled and kept Ling Zhao in suspense. He then brought Ling Zhao to the back of the longevity mountain. That was the place where the path understanding tree grew. It was also the forbidden area of the longevity sect. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He did not know why Zhu Ganglai would bring him to the path understanding tree, but he still followed Zhu Ganglai. The path understanding tree had now become a towering ancient tree with luxuriant leaves. Its crown was like a dome, covering the sky and emitting a mysterious aura. The entire longevity gate was enveloped by this mysterious aura and became tranquil and flawless. Everyone felt refreshed and their minds were clear. Even the most common inner demons disappeared. The path understanding tree had now taken root in the depths of the longevity boundary. Its leaves were luxuriant and there were even strange flowers blooming. The fragrance of the flowers was pleasant and refreshing. The path understanding tree was shrouded in a resplendent glow. It was sparkling and translucent, and its branches and leaves looked as if they were carved from jade. They were incomparably exquisite, and on each leaf, there were mysterious patterns that seemed to contain some kind of truth of heaven and earth. With Zhu Ganglia's qualifications, he originally did not have the chance to come here. However, Jin Se brought him here once and he found a treasure here. Master, do you recognize this item? Zhu Ganglai brought Ling Zhao to the bottom of the path understanding tree. There was a fat bug lying on one of the path understanding leaves. Zhu Ganglai pointed at the bug and said. At this moment, the insect seemed to be undergoing some kind of metamorphosis. Its entire body emitted a flickering light. Its body looked flawless and translucent, but there were 8 blood veins on its body. The 9th blood vein had also appeared, but it looked incomparably dim. This is the Heaven Men's silkworm. Ling Zhao's eyes widened. He finally remembered the origin of this fat worm. This Heaven Men's silkworm was a treasure he cut out from an ancient stone in the heavenly god city. Later on, he gave it to the old goat to bring back to the longevity sect. Ling Zhao didn't expect the Heaven Men's silkworm to be here. Moreover, Ling Zhao could see that the Heaven Men's silkworm's body was glowing. A layer of transparent shell seemed to be peeling off. The 2 thin and translucent wings were already showing their shape. This is evolving into a Heaven Men divine butterfly. Ling Zhao's eyes trembled. Then, he became extremely excited. This was the Heaven Men divine butterfly. It was said that a flap of its wings could shake the heavens and destroy a world. It was a ferocious existence that could destroy billions of lives. However, Ling Zhao didn't expect that the Heaven Men's silkworm had only undergone its 8th transformation a dozen years ago. How could it become a Heaven Men divine butterfly so quickly? Could it be because of the path understanding tree? Ling Xiao stared at the path understanding tree in front of him with a hint of contemplation in his eyes. Chapter 1137. That's right. Master, the Heavenmen's silkworm is resting on the path understanding tree and has absorbed its aura. According to the old goat, the grand wisdom monarch ginseng and longevity grass also gave it 2 drops of divine liquid. That's why it's evolving so quickly. It's about to transform into a divine butterfly. Zhu Gonglie's eyes were also filled with excitement and amazement. The divine butterfly is a rare treasure in the god realm. It's said to have gone extinct in the ancient times. I didn't expect to see one here. Master, once the divine butterfly matures, it'll be able to tear apart a saint. Legend has it that it's comparable to an emperor. You've really found a treasure. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't expect that the Heavenmen's silkworm he accidentally cut open would evolve into a divine butterfly. Even the legendary old man Skywatch didn't manage to cultivate one, but it was about to appear in Ling Xiao's hands. Is the divine butterfly really that powerful? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he slowly asked. Zhu Ganglai nodded, that's right. Master, the divine butterfly is said to have slaughtered dragons and true phoenixes during the ancient times. It's a supreme existence that could destroy the heavens with a flap of its wings. However, even if it's transformed into a divine butterfly, it's still in its infancy. As long as Master continues to nourish it with essence blood, it'll definitely be of great help to Master once it matures. The divine butterfly hasn't recognized a master yet. Others should be able to make it recognize a master, right? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at Zhu Ganglai. Master, you're not thinking of giving the divine butterfly away, are you? You can't do that. It's a waste to leave such a supreme treasure in the hands of others. Zhu Ganglai immediately became anxious and tried to persuade Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, you said it yourself. The divine butterfly in its infancy isn't very strong and won't be of much use to me. I plan to give it to Jin's. Jin's doesn't have any cultivation right now and I'm worried about her safety. With the divine butterfly protecting her, I can rest assured. Zhu Ganglai smiled bitterly with a complicated look in his eyes. In the demon race, he was used to seeing scheming against each other. Let alone a Dao partner, even parents and siblings could be killed. As a result, he did not understand why Ling Xiao would give the butterfly to Jin Sei, but for some reason, he felt a trace of respect in his heart. Perhaps, if he followed such a master, he wouldn't have to worry about being betrayed as cannon fodder one day, right? A juvenile divine skymend butterfly was not strong, but that was only when compared to a divine skymend butterfly at its peak. However, even a juvenile divine skymend butterfly had the battle prowess of a god. How could it not be strong? However, seeing how determined Ling Xiao was, Zhu Ganglai did not continue to persuade him. Ling Xiao left the back mountain and quickly brought Jin Sei over. When she heard that Ling Xiao wanted the butterfly to recognize her as its master, Jin Sei didn't agree. After all, in her opinion, Ling Xiao was about to face demon god King Bo Sun. The more help she had, the safer she would be. Jin Sei, only when you are safe can I fight demon god King Bo Sun with peace of mind. And believe me, I will definitely kill Bo Sun and cure you of the 7 soul-dissipating soul light poison. Ling Xiao looked seriously at Jin Sei and said, I believe you. Big brother Ling Xiao, being able to see you again is already a gift from the heavens. If you live, I live. If you die, I will follow. Jin Sei smiled like a flower and said softly. Her long eyelashes fluttered and her beautiful eyes were filled with gentleness. Although her voice was very gentle, it contained a determination that moved one's heart, causing Ling Xiao's heart to involuntarily tremble. Jin Sei, don't worry. I won't die, and you won't die either. We will live for 10,000 years, 100 million years, until the end of time. I am still waiting for you to give birth to a pair of children for me. Ling Xiao hugged Jin Se tightly and whispered in her ear, afraid that Jin Se would disappear if he let go. Jin Se's pretty face was red, but her face was filled with happiness. Zhu Ganglai was very quiet at the side. Looking at the two in front of him hugging each other, his heart was filled with complex emotions and envy. In the eyes of many demons, humans were weak, fragile, and had a lot of boring emotions. They were only fit to be food for demons. But sometimes, Zhu Ganglai thought that it was because of those emotions that humans had that allowed them to become the epic lords of this era, to suppress the 3,000 realms and become the rulers of this world. Finally, under Zhu Ganglai and Ling Xiao's guidance, Jin Se's essence blood fused into the Heaven-Men silkworm. Rumble. The Heaven-Men silkworm emitted a resplendent light as if it had finally reached the critical point of evolution. In an instant, the 9th blood vein completely appeared and was clearly visible. The 9 blood veins were resplendent and like 9 divine chains of order, they instantly soared into the sky and contained a vast and mysterious power of laws. The Heaven-Men silkworm began to tremble slightly. Its chubby and cute body emitted a majestic blood energy and ancient and mysterious ripple. It was as if an ancient divine beast had awakened, becoming monstrous and terrifying. Almost half of Jin Se's blood fused into the Heaven-Men silkworm's body. She formed a seal with her hands and used her blood to draw an extremely mysterious rune in the void. Then, she suddenly imprinted it on the Heaven-Men silkworm's body. Boom! The 9 blood veins were like 9 chains that bound the Heaven-Men silkworm. They shone with a resplendent light and then all of them suddenly exploded. The Heaven-Men silkworm floated in the void. The Epiphany tree also danced in the wind. Mysterious rays of light fell down like pearls and poured into the Heaven-Men silkworm's body. The Heaven-Men silkworm violently twisted. When the light reached its peak, 2 transparent cicada wings broke free. The 9-colored light illuminated the void. It was extremely beautiful. The Heaven-Men silkworm had completely transformed into a butterfly. It shone with 9-colored light and its aura was ancient and mysterious. A ferocious aura spread out as if it could break open the world. The Heaven-Men butterfly had come into being. However, Jin Se could feel that there was a bloodline connection between her and the Heaven-Men butterfly. She could feel the attachment and intimacy of the Heaven-Men butterfly. She couldn't help but reach out her slender hand. Wang! The Heaven-Men butterfly slightly trembled and gently flew into the air. The 9-colored light flowed in a beautiful and gentle manner. It directly landed in Jin Se's palm. The butterfly gently flapped its wings and divine light flowed. It looked very cute and beautiful. Chapter 1138. So beautiful. Jin Se's eyes were filled with joy. Women had no resistance to beautiful things like this, especially the divine sky-mending butterfly. It could be said to be a spirit that was blessed by heaven and earth. It was the darling of heaven and earth with peerless talent. However, things that were too perfect would easily attract the jealousy of heaven. Perhaps the divine sky-mending butterfly was the last one in this world. After all, evolving from a divine sky-mending silkworm to a divine sky-mending butterfly was too difficult. Buzz! The divine sky-mending butterfly circled around Jin Se once. In the end, it seemed to be tired and landed on Jin Se's hair like a 9-colored hairpin. It was very strange. Croak, croak, croak. At this time, the appearance of the divine sky-mending butterfly alarmed a fellow on the Epiphany tree. It was a golden toad the size of a washbasin. Its eyes were extremely intelligent, and it looked at the divine sky-mending butterfly with a burning gaze. However, it seemed to be a bit fearful. It lay on the Epiphany tree's branch and didn't dare to come down. 1,000-year scarlet toad. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This was the 1,000-year scarlet toad he placed under the Epiphany tree. However, he didn't expect it to turn into an auspicious beast with a powerful aura. At this moment, it was staring at Ling Xiao with its large eyes. Master, this is a treasure-seeking toad, an ancient beast. It can find treasures in the world and discern feng shui. It is no longer a simple 1,000-year scarlet toad. Zhu Ganglai explained from the side. He was also very surprised. Seeing the epiphany tree back then was enough to shock him. He didn't expect to find a divine sky-mending silkworm and a treasure-seeking toad on the tree. The 1,000-year-old vermilion toad originally possessed a trace of the treasure-hunting golden toad's bloodline. Over the years, it had absorbed the essence of heaven and earth under the epiphany tree, and because of the epiphany tree, it had unlocked the power of its bloodline and transformed into the treasure-hunting golden toad. The epiphany tree is indeed mysterious. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at the epiphany tree before him with a trace of emotion. The divine sky-mending silkworm transformed into a divine sky-mending butterfly, and the 1,000-year scarlet toad transformed into a treasure-seeking toad so quickly. Master, this epiphany tree is only a seedling. A fully mature epiphany tree is said to be millions of miles tall. It is said to be connected with heaven and earth and can give birth to 3,000 great worlds. And heaven and earth. It can even transform into a world tree. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. World tree. With God and demons, and legend had it that all Khanate spiritual roots were descendants of the world tree. In the God realm, there are many sacred grounds and sects that have strong natural spiritual roots. They give birth to a world and multiply life. It is very mysterious. Master, if the epiphany tree can grow, the Changsun sect may become one of those eternal sacred grounds in the God realm. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. Buzz. At this moment, the divine sky-mending butterfly on top of Jin Sei's head spat out a pearl with 9 different colors. It looked very mysterious. It's the divine sky-mending pearl. Master, this last divine sky-mending pearl contains a mysterious power. It can let your primordial spirit transform rapidly. You can use your spiritual power to become a god. Zhu Ganglia's eyes lit up as he said excitedly. The supreme treasure he was talking about was the last heaven-mending pearl. The last heaven-mending pearl that the heaven-mending silkworm spat out when it transformed into the divine heaven-mending butterfly was even more mysterious than the previous 8 heaven-mending pearls. Ling Xiao had given the last divine sky-mending pearl to Li Chunfeng. It allowed him to recover to his peak in one fell swoop. As for the 9th divine sky-mending pearl, it was even more mysterious than the previous one. Brother Ling Xiao, quickly consume it. Only when you reach the triple god realm will you have the strength to fight against demon god King Bo Sun. Jin Sei handed the divine sky-mending pearl to Ling Xiao and said with anticipation. Ling Xiao did not decline and took it. He could feel that the power within the divine sky-mending pearl was very beneficial to his primordial spirit. Even the treasure-hunting golden toad's eyes lit up when it saw the divine sky-mending pearl. It could not wait to pounce on it and snatch it away. Ling Xiao did not consume it directly. Instead, he kept it. I have a feeling that when I reach the triple god realm, there will be a terrifying lightning tribulation. I'll keep it for now. Maybe it can give demon god King Bo Sun a surprise. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as his eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. Zhu Ganglai couldn't help but shiver. He naturally knew what Ling Xiao was planning. If Ling Xiao were to undergo the divine tribulation when he reached the 3 gods realm, Bo Sun demon god king would also be targeted by the divine tribulation. At that time, Bo Sun demon god king would definitely suffer a great loss. However, was Ling Xiao not afraid? In such a terrifying tribulation, coupled with demon god King Bo Sun, Ling Xiao would probably die. However, Zhu Ganglai was tactful and did not ask. Ling Xiao and Jin Sei left the back mountain and returned to Jin Sei Pavilion. Jin Sei Pavilion was currently the forbidden area of the entire longevity sect. All the disciples revered and worshipped this place because the 2 ancestors of the longevity sect resided here. Brother. When he returned to Jin Sei Pavilion, a young girl in a white dress, who looked like she was carved out of jade, happily threw herself at Ling Xiao. Her eyes were filled with incomparable surprise. You are. Luo Luo. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He almost could not recognize Luo Luo. Moreover, what made Ling Xiao's heart tremble was that Luo Luo's appearance was becoming more and more like Xue Wei. In the reincarnation realm, Ling Xiao was almost certain that Xue Wei was the daughter of the first reincarnation saintess and Scarlet Dragon War God. However, who was Luo Luo? Li Chunfeng had previously told Ling Xiao that Luo Luo was indeed not his biological granddaughter. He had unintentionally dug her out from a sealed area. However, in Xue Wei's memory, the first reincarnation saintess and Scarlet Dragon War God only had one daughter. Therefore, Ling Xiao was even more suspicious of Luo Luo's identity. Master, Luo Luo should also be the daughter of Scarlet Dragon War God. Zhu Ganglai looked carefully at Luo Luo and naturally knew what Ling Xiao was thinking. He transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. What? What did you see? Scarlet Dragon War God only has one daughter, Xue Wei. Chapter 1139. Zhu Ganglai explained, Master, you're right. The Scarlet Dragon War God and the first reincarnation saintess only have one daughter, and Xue Wei and Luo Luo are probably the same person. Ling Xiao was shocked by Zhu Ganglia's words, and his eyes showed a trace of disbelief. How could two living people be the same person? Master. I experienced the war 1,000,000 years ago and saw the Scarlet Dragon War God with my own eyes. Luo Luo has the Scarlet Dragon War God's bloodline and her aura is very similar to the Scarlet Dragon War God's. Xue Wei's aura is also very similar to the Scarlet Dragon War God's aura, so I have a guess. Luo Luo is the original body, but after being sealed for 1,000,000 years, her body gave birth to intelligence and thoughts. Xue Wei is the primordial spirit, and after 1,000,000 years of reincarnation, she finally returned to the Samsara temple. So it's very likely that they are the same person, one is the primordial spirit. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. He was also shocked by this guess. What? Ling Xiao's eyes were shocked. He didn't expect Zhu Ganglai to give him such an explanation. How do you know so much? Zhu Ganglai, who are you? Ling Xiao's sharp eyes fell on Zhu Ganglia's face. Zhu Ganglai smiled bitterly and said, Master, I'm Zhu Ganglai. My life is in your hands, how can I lie to you? This is just a guess, but it's the most likely guess. Will it affect Luo Luo and Xue Wei? Ling Xiao's eyes showed a trace of worry. Definitely. Zhu Ganglai said, the original body and the true spirit are the most compatible, so Luo Luo and Xue Wei will merge into one sooner or later. At that time, one of their consciousnesses will be destroyed, and as for who will take the lead, it's up to fate. Is there no other way? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Whether it was Luo Luo or Xue Wei, Ling Xiao didn't want either of them to disappear. This is just my guess, I can't say for sure. But Master, when Xue Wei comes out and meets Luo Luo, everything will be clear. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. Xue Wei. She had already been in seclusion for 4 to 5 years. She should be coming out soon. Let's hope everything goes well. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. After the catastrophe 1,000,000 years ago, there were many truths hidden behind the fog. Now, the truth was being revealed bit by bit, but some truths were hard to accept. No matter what, let's wipe out the heavenly devil ancient land first. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he calmed himself down and said slowly. Next, he accompanied Jin Sei and Luo Luo for 2 days. At the same time, he sent out the disciples of Changsun's sect to War God Continent to gather the forces of Changsun's sect and prepare for the upcoming battle. The cultivation of the longevity sect's disciples increased by leaps and bounds. Yi Feng and Yi Meng both possessed the body of darkness. At this moment, their cultivation had already reached the half-step supreme being tribulation of the 4 symbols. They were only 1 step away from passing the supreme being tribulation. Their ancestor Yi Qianjue's rebirth made the brother and sister extremely excited. Yi Qianjue was also nurturing the two of them, activating the darkness bloodline in their bodies to the extreme. The chaos on War God continent was getting worse and worse. The experts of the demon race came and went like ghosts, causing endless slaughter. Even a few martial Dao holy lands were completely annihilated by the demon race, completely wiping out their orthodoxies. On this day, the disciples of Changsun sect sent news that the heavenly devil ancient land had sent out 5 immortal realm experts. Under the lead of a young man named Young Master Xia, they killed their way to the Great Lane Temple. They were ready to destroy the Great Lane Temple in one fell swoop. It was even said that Ming Wang Temple had already submitted to the heavenly devil ancient land and participated in this siege. Even Jia Yi and Long-Browed Buddha sent out messages for help. The demon gods of the heavenly devil ancient land have finally made their move. Since that's the case, let's kill them all. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he decided to save the Great Lane Temple. The disciples of Changsun sect all rubbed their palms together. Their eyes were filled with excitement and strong battle intent. They were not afraid of the upcoming battle at all. Instead, they were filled with anticipation. Ling Xiao decided to capture the demon gods and find out about the situation in the heavenly devil ancient land. After that, he would lead his people into the heavenly devil ancient land. This time, Ling Xiao only brought along experts above the supreme realm among the disciples of Changsun sect. Originally, Ling Xiao wanted Jin Se to stay in Changsun sect. However, Jin Se also decided to follow Ling Xiao into this battle. Thinking that Jin Se had the divine sky-patching butterfly to protect her, Ling Xiao agreed. Ling Xiao, Jin Se, Zhu Ganglai, Bai Longma, Zhu Biao, Long Outyen, Long Lai, Fire Phoenix Supreme, Moon God, Phoenix Lady, and Ling Xiao's 7 disciples. A total of 17 people charged towards the Great Lane Temple. Everyone knew that the time for the final battle had arrived. Swoosh! Ling Xiao tore through the void and led many experts towards the far west land. That was the direction of the Great Lane Temple. Just as Ling Xiao was rushing to the Great Lane Temple's rescue, somewhere in the chaotic void, 3 figures stood in the sky. Divine aura filled the air and emitted a terrifying aura. It was as if the sky was about to shatter. Among the 3 figures, one of them was a man in black armor. He looked heroic and tall. His entire body exuded a black mist, and his eyes were as sharp as a blade. There was also a burly man in beast skin. He held a huge mace in his hand. His entire body was emitting surging blood qi. His physical body was extremely terrifying. His hair danced wildly in the wind. His eyes were filled with invasive light and he emitted a wild aura. The last one was a young man who looked perfect. He was in a white robe. His body was strong and his skin was glowing. His entire body emitted an ethereal aura. His eyes were indifferent. It was as if he was a supreme emperor overlooking the world. He ignored all living things and did not put anything in his heart. These 3 people were the ancestor of the god-burying tribe, Zhang Su, the shaman king of the sorcerer tribe, Qi Kongjue, and the heavenly king of the heavenly human tribe, Bai Wuliang. No one would have thought that these 3 peerless experts would meet here. Zhang Su, are you sure that Ling Zhao's strength is not weaker than yours? Qi Kongjue's eyes flashed as he looked at Zhang Su. There was a trace of seriousness in his eyes. That's right. His physical body and divine power law have reached the double god realm. His strength has probably reached the peak of the divine spirit realm. Coupled with the wordless heavenly book, he probably won't be defeated by me. If it wasn't for his strength, I wouldn't have let him go so easily. I would have killed him long ago and snatched the wordless heavenly book. Zhang Su said slowly. Chapter 1140. The successor of the Scarlet Dragon War God, it's not strange for him to reach the dual god realm. However, are you sure that your plan of driving the tiger to devour the wolf will succeed? If Ling Xiao can kill demon god King Bo Sun, I'm afraid our plan will be for naught. Bai Wuliang's eyes seemed to be filled with chaos as he said indifferently. When he mentioned demon god King Bo Sun, Zhang Su, Qi Kongjue, and Bai Wuliang's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness and fear. You want to kill Bo Sun? Impossible. Zhang Su sneered and said, even the Scarlet Dragon War God wasn't able to kill Bo Sun. Instead, he was only able to seal him. In the past million years, not only did Bo Sun escape from the sealed world, he even used the myriad transformations demonic scripture to continuously recover his strength. I'm afraid his strength is at least at the peak of the true God realm. The gap between him and Ling Xiao is too big. If Ling Xiao didn't have the wordless heavenly book, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to fight with Bo Sun. Ling Xiao has already become the successor of the Scarlet Dragon War God and obtained the wordless heavenly book. He has no way out of this battle. The power of the wordless heavenly book is too terrifying, so the best outcome I can think of is for both Ling Xiao and Bo Sun to suffer heavy injuries. If Bo Sun's strength is too terrifying, we only need to wait for the gate of the divine realm to open. At that time, the experts of the divine realm will naturally deal with Bo Sun and we only need to reap the benefits. Qi Kongjue nodded and said, you're right. As long as we don't show ourselves, we will be invincible no matter what. How long until the gate of the divine realm opens? 1,000,000 years have already passed. The world has changed greatly and the laws have recovered. Even the demon god has already escaped. The experts of the divine realm can't not feel it. Therefore, I feel that the gate of the divine realm will open soon. At that time, if the experts of our three races come, why should we be afraid of a heavily injured Bo Sun? Zhang Su sneered and said. You're right. Although Bo Sun used the 1,000 transformations demonic scripture to recover, this is the mortal realm. I'm afraid he can only recover the strength of the true God realm. The three of us have sealed ourselves for 1,000,000 years and our cultivation has regressed to the true God realm. I don't believe his strength is stronger. Brother Burial's plan isn't bad. Let Ling Xiao be the vanguard. We only need to pay attention to the progress of the battle. Bai Wuliang said calmly. He, I heard that young Master Xie from the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land is not simple. He seems to be Bo Sun's son. If he wants to fight with Bo Sun, let's see if Ling Xiao can defeat young Master Xie. If he kills young Master Xie, there will be no more room for negotiation between him and Bo Sun. Zhang Su sneered. Although he had fought Ling Xiao with his clone in the sky-burying cauldron, Ling Xiao's terrifying strength was still far beyond his expectations, especially when his sky-encompassing hammer and the sky-burying realm were both broken by Ling Xiao. Although he did not use his full strength, he could faintly feel that Ling Xiao still had something up his sleeve. Therefore, he did not want to fight to the death with Ling Xiao before he could ascertain the extent of Ling Xiao's abilities. The longer one lived, the more one feared death. Especially when they saw that returning to the God realm was within sight, they naturally cherished their lives even more. Ling Xiao had already guessed the conspiracy between Zhang Su, Qi Kongjue, and Bai Wuliang, but this was an open conspiracy. No matter what, Ling Xiao had to fight demon god King Bo Sun. Therefore, Ling Xiao did not put Zhang Su and the others in his eyes. If he could kill Bo Sun, then these so-called gods in the Forbidden Grounds would naturally not be in his eyes. But if he died in Bo Sun's hands, then everything would come to an end. The Great Thunderclap Temple was located in the far west of the War God continent. In the far west, there was a vast and boundless desert. It was shimmering with golden light, mysterious and unfathomable, and was surrounded by mysterious Buddhist light. The Great Thunderclap Temple had been passed down for countless years. Legend had it that this desert had been tainted by the Buddhist light and had become extremely spiritual. Almost all the experts in the desert believed in Buddhism and worshipped the many living Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the Great Thunderclap Temple. In the middle of the desert, there was a spiritual mountain. It was tens of thousands of feet tall and connected the sky with the sun. It was like a divine realm. Ancient trees towered into the sky and palaces stood in great numbers, emitting an eternal and inextinguishable Buddhist light. This was the ancestral court of the Great Thunderclap Temple. There were countless temples and halls, and mysterious Sanskrit chants could be heard. Normally, countless living beings in the desert would come to the spiritual mountain to make a pilgrimage. But today, the desert around the spiritual mountain was already stained with blood. It was like an Azura hell with severed limbs everywhere. Rumble. In the void above the spiritual mountain, 6 terrifying figures stood in the air, emitting a monstrous demonic aura. They were shrouded in black divine light. The sky darkened and the void trembled. Endless astral winds swept through, dark clouds rolled, and thunder rumbled. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed. Behind the 6 figures, there were several old monks in blood-colored monk robes. They had their palms together and seemed to be ashamed. On the spiritual mountain, the hundreds of thousands of monks in the great thunderclap temple sat down cross-legged. They were all solemn and dignified as they chanted scriptures. Powerful psyche energy gathered and turned into a vast and majestic Buddhist light, forming an extremely huge barrier. This was the Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier. It was said that when the Buddha attained his Tao, he observed the myriad of worlds and illuminated the past and future. The Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier in the void contained boundless light. It sealed off all the demonic chi in the surroundings, firmly keeping the 6 demon gods outside. However, the eyes of the elders, abbot, and protectors of the great thunderclap temple were full of worry. The long-browed Buddha sat cross-legged in the void above the spiritual mountain. Kasyapa stood behind him. A bright Sarira floated above the spiritual mountain, becoming the core of the Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier. This Sarira was said to have been left behind by the Buddha Lord. It contained endless magical power. Although the Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier blocked the attack of the 6 demon gods, the long-browed Buddha was obviously exhausted. His face was extremely pale, and his eyes were full of anxiety. The strength of the 6 demon gods was too terrifying, especially the young man named Young Master Xie. He broke the 72 layers of the Great Thunderclap Temple's demons, subduing divine formation with one blow. If the Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier had not been activated at the critical moment, the entire Great Thunderclap Temple would have been slaughtered. Old Bald Donkey, although the Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier is very strong, how long can you last? Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. If you are as sensible as the Ming Wang Temple, surrender to me. I can spare your lives. Otherwise, when the Great Light Devil's Snare Barrier is destroyed, no one in the Great Thunderclap Temple will be left alive. A young man in a black robe said with an evil smile. He looked very handsome, tall, and exuded a mysterious aura all over his body. His eyes were blue, bright, cold, and arrogant, as if they contained the scene of the birth and death of the world. His sky-blue hair fluttered in the wind, making him look somewhat unrestrained. However, all this could not hide the cruelty in his eyes. Chapter 1141. Previously, he had led the 5 great demon gods and defeated the Ming Wang Temple in an invincible manner, forcing the Ming Wang Temple's Xitigarbha Wisdom King to surrender along with many experts. Today, he was met with strong resistance when he attacked the Tempest Temple. Even though he had slaughtered hundreds of thousands of believers and destroyed the 72 layers of demon-subduing formation, he was met with the Great Light Datura Barrier. The Great Light Datura Barrier had gathered the power of hundreds of thousands of people in the Tempest Temple. Even the 5 great demon gods under Young Master Xia were injured. Young Master Xia was enraged when he saw that a bunch of ants dared to resist. Senior brother Changmei, you should open the Great Light Datura Barrier and surrender. Where there's life, there's hope. Do you really want the Tempest Temple to be destroyed? Xitigarbha Vidyaraja was an old monk. He sighed and tried to persuade young Master Xie. Shut up. Changmei Buddha scolded and said coldly, Xitigarbha, I thought you were different from the others in the Ming Wang Temple. I didn't expect you to be such a coward. How dare you side with the demons? You're the scum and disgrace of Buddhism. I'm ashamed to be with you. Even if the Tempest Temple is destroyed today, we won't surrender. Kasyapa Arhat looked at long-browed Arhat with worry and anxiety. His eyes turned red. Kasyapa, I'm afraid the Tempest Temple will be destroyed in today's battle. Are you willing to surrender? Changmei Buddha's face was pale, but he looked at Kasyapa and asked with a faint smile. Master, I'd rather die than surrender. Kasyapa abruptly raised his head. His eyes were red as he roared out those words. The disciples of the Tempest Temple seemed to be affected as well. They all roared. I'd rather die than surrender. I'd rather die than surrender. His furious roar reverberated through the heavens like a mighty torrent, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. The disciples of the Ming Wang Temple shuddered, their faces filled with shame, and they could not help but lower their heads. Ksitigarbha Vidyaraja smiled bitterly and shook his head. He knew that the Tempest Temple was destined to be destroyed. As expected, young Master Xie smiled faintly. His eyes shone with an evil and cold light. Very good. Since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Do you really think a mere great light Datura barrier can stop me? Young Master Xie laughed coldly and leaped into the air. Rumble. Black light rose around him, and his demonic power was vast and unparalleled. The light in his palm was dazzling, and in an instant, a black dragon-shaped ancient sword appeared. It emitted a blazing divine light, and its divine power was vast and unparalleled. It was like a black demonic dragon, and it slashed down toward the great light Mandara boundary. Not good. Go, Kasyapa. Long-browed Buddha's expression changed. He quickly slapped Kasyapa's back and sent him flying. Rumble. The terrifying sword light fell, and it was as if a black curtain had covered the entire area. The black sword energy collided with the great light Mandara boundary, and it instantly set off a blazing divine light storm. The great light Mandara boundary trembled violently, and the runes shattered. Even the Buddha Lord Sarira in the center of the boundary began to tremble. Long-browed Buddha looked as if he had been struck by lightning, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Puff! Long-browed Buddha's face grew paler, and his eyes showed a trace of determination. Old bald donkey, I'd like to see how many strikes you can take. Young Master Xie laughed coldly, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The demonic dragon ancient sword in his hand was a divine king weapon. It was the sword of demon god King Bo Sun. Although it was damaged in the battle a million years ago, its demonic power was still unparalleled. If the great light Mandara boundary was not strong enough, the demonic dragon ancient sword would have destroyed it completely. Master! Maha Kasyapa roared, and his eyes were filled with worry. Kasyapa, the future depends on you. If you have a chance to survive, you must rebuild the great Layin temple. Long-browed Buddha's face showed a trace of benevolence. There was no sadness, joy, or fear on his face. He slowly closed his eyes, put his palms together, and softly uttered the Buddha's name. Amitabha. Rumble. At this moment, the demonic dragon ancient sword slashed down again. The blazing sword light traversed the void and turned into tens of thousands of feet long, covering the sky and the earth. It once again fell on the great light Mandara boundary, causing the boundary to tremble violently, and the divine light swept out in all directions. The blood at the corner of long-browed Buddha's mouth became more and more shocking. Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, when he practiced Prajnaparamita, saw that the 5 skandhas were all emptiness, and passed through all suffering. Sarira, form is not different from emptiness, emptiness is not different from form. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Feelings, thoughts, actions, and consciousness are the same. Long-browed Buddha recited the Heart Sutra, and his voice was like a great bell, shaking the entire sky above Spirit Mountain. All the disciples and elders of the great Layin temple seemed to be influenced by long-browed Buddha, and they began to recite the Heart Sutra at the same time. The Buddha's voice was loud and vast, and a bright light shone in all directions, dyeing everything golden. Long-browed Buddha's body was shining brightly, and there seemed to be a Buddha sitting cross-legged in the void behind him, exuding a grand and pure Buddha's light, which made the great light Mandara boundary even more majestic. You're courting death. Young Master Xie's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and all his divine power poured into the demonic dragon ancient sword. Instantly, his aura rose, and a murderous aura filled the sky. With an even more terrifying force, he slashed down on the great light Mandara boundary. Rumble. The great light Mandara boundary seemed to be unable to withstand the power of the demonic dragon ancient sword, and finally, when the third slash came down, it exploded with a loud bang. The terrifying sword aura rose violently, as if enveloping the entire Great Lane Temple. Long-browed Buddha was the first to bear the brunt of it. Buzz. Ma. Ni. Pa. Me. Hum. Long-browed Buddha suddenly opened his eyes. He had finished reciting the Heart Sutra, and he suddenly spat out 6 words of Sanskrit mantra. Like 6 bright thunderbolts exploding in the void, long-browed Buddha instantly merged with the Buddha behind him, and he slammed his palm down on young Master Xie. Rumble. This palm contained an incomparably terrifying power, as if it had completely covered the sky and the earth. It was indestructible, and it contained the aura of Buddha subduing demons. In heaven and earth, only I am supreme. Young Master Xie's expression suddenly changed. The power of this palm made him feel a sense of danger. He couldn't figure out how long-browed Buddha, a mere titled supreme, could unleash such terrifying power. Boom! Chapter 1142. The void trembled, and the earth shattered. Cracks spread out like a spider web. A huge palm print appeared on the ground. It was like an abyss, and even magma rose from the ground in the distance. Sacrifice spell. Amitabha. Senior brother Changmei, why did you do this? Ksitigarbha Vidyaraja's distressed face was full of emotions, and there was a trace of shame in his eyes. He was also shocked by long-browed Buddha's resolute resistance. Long-browed Buddha had just used the sacrifice spell of Buddhism. He used the Great Light Datura boundary as the foundation and the Heart Sutra to mobilize the power of the Buddha's light that had been accumulated for millions of years in the Tempest Temple. With the help of the 6 syllables mantra, he finally managed to use the supreme divine skill of Buddhism, the Buddha's palm. This palm had the power to kill gods and demons. Even Ksitigarbha Vidyaraja could not help but look forward to it. Would young Master Xie really be killed by long-browed Buddha? Cough. Old bald donkey, you deserve to die. At this moment, a cold and murderous voice rang out. A black-robed young man flew out from the depths of the earth. He looked extremely miserable. His hair was disheveled, and his clothes were tattered. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. What a pity, long-browed Buddha's eyes showed a trace of regret. His entire body exploded and turned into a dazzling rain of light. After using the sacrifice spell, long-browed Buddha gathered all his essence, chi, and spirit into that palm. Whether young Master Xie died or not, he had no chance of survival. The sacrifice spell of Buddhism was very similar to the sky demon body disintegration technique of the demon clan. Long-browed Buddha had the will to die, but his only regret was that he could not kill young Master Xie. Amitabha. All the elders and disciples of the Tempest Temple looked sorrowful. They chanted the Buddha's name at the same time, and their figures were solemn. Mahakasayapa's eyes turned red. Master! He roared, and tears gushed out of his eyes. Then, he knelt down heavily and bowed to long-browed Buddha. Kill! Today, I will kill everyone in the Tempest Temple. Young Master Xie's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He had nowhere to vent his anger, and it instantly fell on everyone in the Tempest Temple. Yes. Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the 5 demon gods. They revealed a cruel look and were about to fly down to the Great Lane Temple. Rumble. At this moment, the void instantly shattered. A golden fist imprint that exuded an ancient and mysterious aura, as if it could suppress eternity and crush everything, suddenly pressed down on the 5 demon gods. Who is it? The eyes of the 5 demon gods flashed as they sensed the terrifying power contained in the punch. They did not dare to be careless as they unleashed their demonic techniques and attacked the punch. Rumble. Terrifying divine light exploded. The attacks of the 5 great demon gods did not even manage to stop the punch for a moment. They were instantly shattered and landed on the bodies of the 5 great demon gods. The 5 demon gods felt as if they had been struck by lightning. The terrifying power surged into their bodies, causing them to tremble violently. They suddenly spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying back. Their auras instantly became sluggish. With a single punch, the 5 great fiend celestials were severely injured. A sharp light flashed in young Master Xie's eyes as he looked at the shattered space in the distance. Rumble. There was a dazzling golden glow, and divine light gushed out. A young man in white robes walked out. His aura was overwhelming, and his eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. It was Ling Xiao. Following closely behind him were Jin Sei, Zhu Ganglai, Long Outyen, and the others. They had all walked out of the void turbulence. Ling Xiao happened to see the scene where the long-browed Buddha had turned into a rain of light. Coupled with the blood and severed limbs around him, it made Ling Xiao's murderous intent surge to the sky. This young Master Xie in front of him deserved to die. It's Ling Xiao. Lord Sky Devouring is here. We are saved. It's a pity that the abbot could not see this scene. The abbot died so miserably. Lord Ling Xiao, please avenge the abbot. Everyone in the Great Lane Temple began to cheer up. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. They were already in despair. Even the long-browed Buddha, who had used the sacrifice spell and mobilized the Buddhist power that the Great Lane Temple had accumulated over millions of years, could not kill young Master Xie. However, they did not expect that Ling Xiao, who had disappeared for nearly 3 years, would appear. You are Ling Xiao. Young Master Xie's eyes flashed coldly. He raised his eyebrows and said indifferently. That's me. Did you kill all those people? Ling Xiao's voice was incomparably calm as he looked at the severed limbs around the spiritual mountain. However, those who knew him knew that Ling Xiao was on the verge of exploding. Young Master Xie had killed so many living beings, which had completely infuriated Ling Xiao. They are just a bunch of ants. So what if I killed them? However, I am really surprised that you dared to come to the Great Lane Temple's rescue. I thought that you would continue to hide like a coward. Young Master Xie sneered. His eyes were filled with disdain. Ever since the Sky Demon clan appeared, he had heard news of Ling Xiao's disappearance. He naturally thought that Ling Xiao was afraid of demon god King Bo Sun. Hence, his words were filled with disdain. Ants? You are just a bunch of ants in my eyes too. I heard that demon god King Bo Sun is your father. If I kill you, I'm afraid he will be very angry. Ling Xiao said indifferently. However, his eyes became even colder. They were blazing like blades. Kill me? With just you? Ha ha ha. Ling Xiao, you are really overestimating yourself. Do you really think that you have the right to be arrogant in front of me just because you destroyed my father's all transformations demon body? Since you are here, you can die together with the Great Lane Temple. Those are all your women. Don't worry, I will take good care of them for you. Young Master Xie smiled evilly. His eyes were filled with coldness. You deserve to die. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent. Golden blood surged from his body as he punched towards young Master Xie. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled as a golden fist flew through the air. It contained an unstoppable force as it flew towards young Master Xie. You are courting death. Young Master Xie sneered. The demonic dragon ancient sword emitted a dazzling light. Black divine light rose as if a demonic dragon was flying between heaven and earth. It suddenly pounced towards Ling Xiao. Although he was very disdainful of Ling Xiao, he was not careless in his attacks. Ling Xiao's punch could severely injure the 5 demon gods. It was enough to prove that Ling Xiao was very strong. Hence, he directly activated the demonic dragon ancient sword and attacked Ling Xiao with the power of a godly monarch weapon. Chapter 1143. Whoosh! Ling Xiao suddenly sped up like a bolt of golden lightning across the sky. He dodged the sharp edge of the ancient devil dragon sword and slammed his golden fist onto the ancient devil dragon sword. Wang! The sword chi was shattered, and the fist was unstoppable. The ancient demon dragon sword trembled slightly, and a surge of godly energy flowed into young Master Xie's body. Young Master Xie's arm went numb, and the ancient demon dragon sword almost flew out of his hand. He was shocked. He didn't expect Ling Xiao's physical body to be so terrifying. Without a second thought, the ancient devil dragon sword spun around, the sword ray blazing as it slashed towards Ling Xiao's neck. Although a godly king weapon is good, it's a pity that you can't unleash its true power. Ling Xiao sneered. His eyes shone with an unparalleled sharpness. A bright light gushed out from his palm, as if it had turned into a blazing vortex. This was the power of the heaven-devouring secret technique. The heaven-devouring divine sea surged from Ling Xiao's palm as though it was going to devour everything. When the ancient demon dragon sword flew towards Ling Xiao, it was instantly enveloped by the heaven-devouring divine sea. It was as though the ancient demon dragon sword was stuck in mud, and it trembled violently. Bang! Ling Xiao suddenly kicked out, and an unparalleled force was aimed at young Master Xie's face. Young Master Xie's face changed, and black light surged from his arms as he quickly blocked the attack. Kacha! Ling Xiao's kick was probably enough to kill a godly being. Even though young Master Xie was extremely strong, he was still unable to withstand it. A crisp sound rang out as his arm was broken, and he was sent flying back. Whoosh! Ling Xiao's hands suddenly shot to the side, and the demon dragon sword flew out. Ling Xiao's body flashed with light, and as though he had teleported, he appeared behind young Master Xie in the blink of an eye. Boom! The golden fist exploded, and it was unstoppable as it landed on young Master Xie's body. The black robe on young Master Xie's body was like a powerful treasure. Instantly, it shone with a dazzling light. Numerous runes rose into the air before exploding with a loud bang. However, the black robe couldn't completely block the power of Ling Xiao's punch. It still landed on young Master Xie's body, causing him to tremble violently. He staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom! 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 Ling Xiao's figure was like a ghost. Since he had seized this opportunity, he naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. The golden fist was extremely powerful, and Ling Xiao threw out over 100 punches in an instant. Young Master Xie was instantly in a lot of trouble. Even though the black robe he was wearing was a defensive treasure, Ling Xiao's body had already become a god, and his fist intent was unparalleled. He already had a trace of invulnerability. Even the defensive treasure was unable to block this kind of pure physical strength, of Ling of Ling. Of Ling of Xiao of Ling Xiao of Ling Xiao. Of Xiao of. Of Ling of Xiao of Ling of God of hell of Xiao of God. The disciples and elders of the Great Thunderclap Temple were also extremely excited. The ferocious and arrogant young Master Xie was actually beaten up by Ling Xiao to the point where he couldn't even put up a fight. This instantly boosted their confidence. The 5 demon gods who were injured by Ling Xiao of God of Ling Xiao of God of Hell looked at Jin Sei, Zhu Ganglai, and the rest coldly. In their eyes, these people were just a bunch of ants who hadn't even broken through to the godly realm. Since they came with Ling Xiao, as long as they captured them, they would definitely be able to make Ling Xiao hesitate. Unknowingly, the 5 demon gods also developed a deep sense of fear towards Ling Xiao. Whoosh! The 5 demon gods leaped up and charged towards Jin Sei, Zhu Ganglai, and the rest. Jin Sei's eyes flashed, but she didn't move at all. Zhu Ganglia's eyes were filled with mockery. Just as he was about to attack, a few crisp voices rang out. "Mistress, leave these 5 fellows to us." Mu Linfeng, Dugu Longcheng, and the rest of Ling Xiao's 7 disciples looked eager as though they had seen their prey. They immediately pounced on the 5 demon gods. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 7 beams of divine light were dazzling and contained the power of yin, yang, and 5 elements. It was as if they had instantly formed a vast formation that enveloped the 5 demon gods. "Demon brats, have a taste of my power." Mu Linfeng and the rest had small gourds on their heads. They looked like they were carved from jade, and their chubby faces were very cute. They stared at the 5 demon gods with their big eyes and punched. Rumble. The 7 of them seemed to be telepathically connected. 7 divine fists fell and intertwined with each other. Their auras rose and exploded with 7 times the strength. It was as though 7 mountains were pressing down on the 5 demon gods. The 7 of them had obtained the origin of the 7 demons' gourd and had already established the foundation of the divine path. Although their cultivation hadn't officially broken through to the godly realm, the 7 of them combined their strength and exploded with a strength that far exceeded the godly spirit realm. Crack! Bolts of lightning rose up. The 5 demon gods were shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They could not believe that the strength of the 7 youths could be so terrifying. They actually felt exhausted from dealing with them. Rumble. Mu Linfeng and the rest engaged in an intense battle with the 5 demon gods. However, it was obvious that Mu Linfeng and the rest had the upper hand. Moreover, they had the idea of tempering their cultivation and didn't immediately kill the 5 demon gods. However, anyone with a discerning eye could see that the 5 demon gods would probably be played to death soon. How boring. Only a few of these demon brats came, and it's not even enough to divide. Looks like I can only wait until we get to the heavenly devil ancient land to go on a killing spree. Long Outyan's face was full of depression. Even the fire Qilin he was riding felt a little regretful. Mu Linfeng and the rest were Ling Xiao's disciples after all. Long Outyan usually considered himself as their martial uncle, so he couldn't snatch these 7 guys from them. Therefore, he could only sulk there alone. Don't worry, Outyan. When we get to the heavenly devil ancient land, those demon brats will probably kill you until your hands go limp. Jin Sei said with a smile. She knew how terrifying the demon race's reproduction ability was. Although the demon race was sealed in the heavenly devil ancient land, the number of demon race that had reproduced after so many years wouldn't be much less than the sealed land. The heavenly devil ancient land was originally a battlefield of the great divine demon war. However, many heavenly devil race experts were sealed there. With the help of demon god King Bo Sun's strength, they were finally able to escape. Chapter 1144. Boom! A golden fist came crashing down from the sky with unparalleled divine power. It landed on young Master Xia's body and sent him flying into the endless sea of sand. Young Master Xia coughed out blood continuously. Even the black robe on his body couldn't withstand Ling Xiao's terrifying attack and started to tear apart. Black runes exploded one after another, and young Master Xia looked extremely pathetic. Ling Xiao, I'm going to kill you. Young Master Xia went completely crazy. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Boom! Black godly light surged around his body as an ancient and mysterious aura exploded forth. His godly power was as vast as the ocean, causing the entire sky to tremble violently. Behind young Master Xia, it was as if an indomitable demon god had appeared. Chaotic heavenly demon skill. Young Master Xia roared. Instantly, the surrounding void shattered, and the demon god walked out from the endless void. A mysterious fluctuation of laws flowed around his body. It was as though he was the source of all demonic Tao. A pair of eyes opened, and black divine light shot out. It was as though he wanted to destroy the heavens and earth. He suddenly enveloped Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao felt a cold murderous intent coming towards him. Without thinking, he immediately moved away. Kacha! A dazzling divine light appeared where Ling Xiao was just a moment ago, and it directly destroyed that part of the void. Ling Xiao, go to hell. Young Master Xie's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The chaotic heavenly demon behind him slammed its palm down on Ling Xiao. Instantly, streaks of blazing sword light intertwined, as though it wanted to cut Ling Xiao into pieces. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. With a roar, he dashed towards the divine demon of chaos. Ling Xiao could feel that young Master Xie's chaotic heavenly demon skill was a truly peerless demonic skill. The chaotic heavenly demon that he formed was like the ancestor of all demonic Tao, and it exploded with terrifying power. The divine light of the four elements shot into the sky and circled around Ling Xiao's fist. Behind Ling Xiao, the shadows of the four divine beasts appeared. Against young Master Xie, Ling Xiao directly used the four elements sky-striking style. Ling Xiao only wanted to defeat young Master Xie as soon as possible. Perhaps he could find out the whereabouts of Demon King Bo Sun from him. Rumble. The four mammoths' heaven-striking style transformed into a chaotic fist imbued with unparalleled divine power. Suddenly, it blasted towards the chaotic heavenly demon. Dazzling divine light erupted and directly blew up one of the chaotic heavenly demon's arms. Whoosh! Whoosh! Ling Xiao was like a bolt of golden lightning. He clenched his invincible fist seal and fought with the heavenly demon of chaos. With the terrifying power of the four elephants' sky-striking style and the invincible body of Ling Xiao, the heavenly demon of chaos was quickly destroyed. What? Young Master Xie's body trembled as an incomparably grave expression appeared in his eyes. The chaotic heavenly devil technique was his strongest technique. Even the chaotic heavenly devil technique was destroyed by Ling Xiao. It seemed like he was no match for Ling Xiao. His heart had already given birth to thoughts of retreating. You want to leave? Today, you have to pay with your life for long-browed Buddha and the lives of these dead creatures. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent as he saw young Master Xie's intention to retreat. He immediately pounced towards young Master Xie, wanting to make him stay here forever. Ling Xiao, I admit that you're very strong, but you don't have the ability to kill me. When my father arrives, it'll be the day of your death. Young Master Xie glanced at Ling Xiao coldly. The ancient demonic dragon sword flew across the sky and turned into a blazing black sword light, slashing towards Ling Xiao. Young Master Xie instantly broke through the void and fled madly into the distance. Boom! Ling Xiao destroyed the sword light with a punch. Then, he teleported over and sat on the white dragon horse, giving the white dragon horse a fright. I'll go after young Master Xie. You guys go to the heavenly demon ancient land immediately. Ling Xiao pulled the reins, broke through the void, and chased after young Master Xie. No matter what, young Master Xie must die. Seeing that young Master Xie had escaped, Mu Linfeng and the others gave up the idea of fooling around. They unleashed their terrifying strength and killed the 5 great demon gods with their 7 origin energies. After comforting the people of the Great Thunderclap Temple, they also rushed towards the heavenly demon ancient land. At this time, the Great Thunderclap Temple was besieged by the sky demon gods. But at the last moment, Ling Xiao killed a few great demon gods. Even young Master Xie, who was known as the son of demon god King Bo Sun, escaped. Everyone suddenly felt that the war god continent was about to change. The battle between Ling Xiao and demon god King Bo Sun was about to happen. This concerned the fate of the war god continent. Everyone was extremely excited. The experts of the Martial Way Holy Lands who were in hiding even started to organize experts to go to the Heavenly Demon Ancient Land to help Ling Xiao. However, most of the experts were still observing. They didn't even think that the battle between Ling Xiao and Demon God King Bo Sun would be a success. But there were still many people who weren't afraid of death. They all rushed towards the Heavenly Demon Ancient Land with the intention of watching a good show. At this time, Ling Xiao was riding on the white dragon horse. He had already intercepted young Master Xia in the void.